Chapter 34. Zhong Haoran did not try to hide his Jin Qi. All of the inner disciples could feel the vibration of his Jin Qi. Some of them were surprised. It's Jin Qi. He has reached the condensing reality realm. Another genius has been born. With his natural talent, I'm afraid he'll be able to surpass us very soon. Although Zhong Haoran was a rare genius, the inner disciples did not take him seriously. After all, most of the geniuses could train very fast, but when it came to breaking through to the next level, they were not even as good as some of the disciples. Only geniuses who had reached a certain level would be taken seriously. Sigh, looks like we have to work even harder. Being surpassed by others is not a good feeling, and there are still a bunch of people above us. That's true, let's not think about the core disciples for now, but there are a few freaks among the inner disciples. They have trained their top-rank mortal realm arts to the peak of the 7th stage. How can they let others live? The higher the rank of the art, the harder it is to improve. Even if I was given a low-rank Earth realm art, I would not be able to train it. While the inner disciples were still discussing, Wu Zhongming walked onto the stage. Zhong Haoran, you are not the only one who has reached the condensing reality realm. Whoosh, a stream of pure qi spread out from Wu Zhongming's body. The dust on the stage was blown away. Wu Zhongming had also reached the condensing reality realm. A lot of people were interested. Zhong Haoran sneered, "You were not my opponent when you were at the mortal realm. You are definitely not my opponent now." Wu Zhongming said, "Let's see what you have got. Yi Chen, you go down first." Actually, he did not have any confidence in fighting against Zhong Haoran. The reason why he stood out was to let Yi Chen recover his qi. Yi Chen smiled lightly. He said to Zhong Haoran, "You want to exchange 3 punches with me? I know you've consumed a lot of your inner qi. If we really fight, you'll be at a disadvantage. Now, as long as you can take 3 of my punches without being defeated, you win. What do you think?" Zhong Haoran stood with his hands behind his back. His green robe fluttered even though there was no wind. Wu Zhongming quickly said, "Yi Chen, don't agree. You're good at swordsmanship, but he's good at kung fu." Then he turned to Zhong Haoran and shouted, "Zhong Haoran, you can't be so shameless." Zhong Haoran said lightly, "Did I say that he wouldn't use a sword? I promise you. It's time to resolve the conflict between us." Yi Chen took a deep breath and slowly calmed his boiling blood. All right then. Wu Zhongming knew that it was none of his business, so he quickly landed off the stage. On the stage, looking at Zhong Haoran, who seemed to have a card up his sleeve, Yi Chen remembered what had happened in the reception hall a month ago. One of the 4 core disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace, Liu Wuxiang, had fought against the 2nd core disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, Luo Hanshan, with 3 punches. Now, he also had the chance to fight against someone with 3 punches. Although both of them were far weaker than the previous 2, it was still enough to make people's blood boil and feel proud. Let's start. Yi Chen did not seem to want to take out his sword. He just put his hands together. Zhong Haoran sneered and said disdainfully, "If I don't take out my sword, you won't even be able to take 2 of my moves. Do you think I'm as easy to deal with as that useless Huang Bingwen? To be honest, when I fought against Huang Bingwen, I didn't even use my full power." Yi Chen smiled lightly. What? He is only at Mortal Realm Stage 9, and he didn't even use his full power when fighting against Huang Bingwen? Is he just trying to be mysterious, or is he just bluffing? Suddenly, the crowd of disciples started to chatter. In the crowd, Huang Bingwen's face turned pale when he heard what Yi Chen said. He said angrily, "This is ridiculous. If I didn't look down on him, this wouldn't have happened." The inner disciple next to him sighed and said, "Huang Bingwen, no matter if you admit it or not, a loss is a loss, there is nothing to say. I just can't take it anymore." Huang Bingwen clenched his fists, making a cracking sound. Hearing Yi Chen's words, Zhong Haoran laughed out loud. "All right, take my first attack, Ice Snow Universe." When he was still at stage 10 of Qi, Zhong Haoran's soaking cold palm was already extremely powerful. Now that he had reached the condensing reality realm, he was able to summon a blizzard as soon as he attacked. The entire stage was covered in layers of frost, and the frost was quickly spreading towards Yi Chen's direction. Along the way, the blizzard intertwined and moved towards Yi Chen. Chin. Yi Chen clenched his right fist, which made a metal clashing sound, and threw out a punch without any hesitation. The blizzard covered both of their figures, making it hard for the naked eye to see them clearly. Even some of the inner disciples were shocked by the power of the battle, not to mention Huang Bingwen, who had just lost to Yi Chen. How is this possible? This is only a high-rank mortal realm martial skill. Why is it so powerful in Zhong Haoren's hands? Huang Bingwen looked like he had just been shocked. Of course, Zhong Haoren did not hear Huang Bingwen's words, and even if he did, he would not care. The difference between a genius and a mediocre person was something that he would never understand. In the blizzard, Yi Chen's eyes could not see, nor could his ears hear, but with his super-sensitive senses, he could clearly see Zhong Haoren's movements and expressions, without missing a single detail. Go to hell! Zhong Haoren threw out a palm attack towards Yi Chen's chest. Not necessarily. Yi Chen waited patiently, and threw out a punch. Boom! The blizzard exploded, Yi Chen's fist and Zhong Haoren's palm collided, both of them did not want to give way, and stood there motionlessly. Facing this situation, Zhong Haoren grinned, he turned his left palm into a fist, and threw out a lightning-fast punch towards Yi Chen's chest. But to his surprise, he did not know when he had also been hit, and it was also on his chest. The crowd only heard two clashing sounds, and the two people on the stage were both blown back, their bodies staggering. Haha. My iron cloak art has already reached the highest level, you can never hurt me. Zhong Haoren patted his chest, looking like he did not care. The clothes on Yi Chen's chest had already been shattered, he looked down, and saw that his strong muscles had a jade-like luster, and was covered with a layer of frost. With a shake of his chi, the frost was quickly shattered, and fell off like crystal dust. Raising his head, Yi Chen said, "You did not hurt me either." This time, Zhong Haoren's face looked terrible. "I did not expect you to have trained a body-strengthening art as well, I have underestimated you. But with this punch, you will definitely lose." Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist. Compared to a few months ago, Zhong Haoren's mastery of the Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist, had become much more proficient. Boundless blue chi gathered around his palms, letting out waves of tiger roars. Soon after, a gorgeous light tail was drawn out as it charged towards Yi Chen, like a flying dragon soaring into the sky. Taking a step forward, Yi Chen pulled his right fist back, and roared in his heart, "My current strength is more than 10,000 pounds, I can even kill an elephant. Today, I will let you be the first person to experience it." Swoosh. Taking a step forward, Yi Chen's fist was more powerful than any weapon, instantly tearing the air apart, and a thin layer of chi was squeezed out in front of his fist, continuously tightening. The two fists collided, and Zhong Haoren flew out in fear, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 35. Standing in the middle of the battling platform, Yi Chen's body was like an unsheathed sharp sword. This guy is really scary. If beating Huang Bingwen proved how powerful he is, then beating the genius Zhong Haoren only proves that he is a freak. That's right, it's not scary for a genius to challenge someone with a higher cultivation than him. What's scary is that the one who is defeated is also a genius, just like when someone challenged the head disciple. That's impossible. Among the younger generation of the Windy Nation, no one can challenge the head disciple. I'm just giving an example. Kneeling on the ground with one knee, Zhong Haoren held his broken right arm with his left hand and raised his head. His lips were covered in blood and slid down to his chin. He said viciously, "No one can beat me, Zhong Haoren, not even you. Yi Chen, wait for me, you have to become an inner disciple in 5 months, then I will challenge you again." Everyone shook their heads. Yi Chen could already beat you when he was only at the mortal realm stage 9. When he becomes an inner disciple, would you still have a chance? Yi Chen admired Zhong Haoren a little. Although he was arrogant and thought that no one could compete with him, his fighting spirit was amazing. He never knew when to retreat. Huang Bingwen, on the other hand, was much worse. Once he lost, he would hide in the crowd. Maybe he was planning something bad behind the scenes. With this kind of personality, it would be hard for him to achieve anything great. All right, I will give you a chance to challenge me, and in 5 months, I will definitely become an inner disciple. Facing someone with fighting spirit, Yi Chen did not say anything sarcastic. Standing up unsteadily, Zhong Haoren looked deeply at Yi Chen. "You are very powerful. I, Zhong Haoren, did not feel bad losing to you. But if you want me to submit to you, that is impossible. After saying that, he walked off the stage with determination. Wow, such a proud character, not bad. The battling platform was surrounded by stands for the audience. They went up step by step until they reached a height of 6 meters. On the edge of the stage, a young man in green was waving a fan in his hand, looking relaxed. On the side, the young man with the iron sword in his arms said lightly, reaching the condensing reality realm at the age of 13, he should be in the top 5 of the Sky Cloud Martial School in the past 10 years. The green-clothed youth nodded. When he grows up, he will be our opponent. As for the other one, I'm very curious as to why he has such great strength. Even the core disciple Shu Jing can't compare to him. He is nothing to worry about. After reaching the condensing reality realm, physical strength will no longer be able to determine the outcome of a battle. But his defense is a bit tricky, and I have never seen it before. Everyone has their own secrets. Didn't you also obtain a sword art in the ghost weeping forest? The green-clothed youth smiled and said, let's go. We're too relaxed. The sword-wielding youth nodded and left the martial arts square with the green-robed youth. If someone saw these two, they would definitely recognize them. The sword-wielding youth was one of the top 10 inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. His name was Li Kuang. His sword art could even make ghosts worry, and he was known as the Ghost Sword in the northern part of the Windy Nation. The green-clothed youth was called Pei Shaoqing, and he was ranked even higher than Li Kuang. Although he was young, he had a friendly attitude. The two had just returned from a school mission. They saw a lot of people on the martial arts square, so they came to have a look. They didn't come to watch the battle. On the way back, Wu Zongming looked at Yi Chen strangely. Yi Chen, you've improved so much. You've left me far behind. Yi Chen couldn't explain what had happened to him, so he said, improved a lot? I don't feel anything. Think about it, when you were in the Mu Ren gang, you were only at Mortal Realm Stage 6. Now you are at Mortal Realm Stage 9, and not just any ordinary Mortal Realm Stage 9. When you reach the condensing reality realm, who knows what kind of monster you will become? Maybe I've been enlightened all of a sudden. Hearing this, Wu Zongming nodded unexpectedly. You're right. Some people are mediocre in the beginning, but suddenly rise in the middle. You might be one of them. Yi Chen was speechless. As the days passed, Yi Chen was not as high profile as everyone thought he would be. Instead, he stayed in his house all day. Even when he went out, he would go to his training spot, the cliff. During this time, Zhong Haoren and Wu Zongming had officially become inner disciples. Every inner disciple had a special tag on their waist. On the back of the tag was their name. With it, they could freely enter and exit the martial skill pavilion, read the top-rank Mortal Realm manuals, accept missions from the school, travel around the martial world, and build their own business and reputation. Of course, there was a certain amount of danger in the Jianghu. In the past 10 years of the Sky Cloud Martial School, countless inner disciples had died. Some were ambushed by the Jianghu, some were killed by the martial artists of the underworld, some were killed by the disciples of other martial schools, and some had completely disappeared. No one knew if they were alive or dead. Even so, the leaders of the Sky Cloud Martial School did not take any measures to reduce the number of inner disciples who died. To them, no matter how beautiful the flowers in the greenhouse were, they would not be able to withstand the wind and rain. Only by letting them travel the martial world would they be able to grow up and build a solid foundation for the future. However, Zhong Haoren and Wu Zongming did not need to do any missions for now. Within half a year of becoming an inner disciple, the leaders allowed them to focus on training their martial arts. After half a year, they would be able to use the martial world as a grindstone to train their willpower and martial arts talent. While everyone was working hard, Yi Chen worked even harder. Every day, besides training the third spell of the Pure Jade Body Boosting spell, he would train with the Soul Stones. After Yi Chen had absorbed all the qi from the blue jade, he did not need to absorb the jade qi anymore. What he needed to do was to master the martial art, which made every inch of his body have a connection with each other. Once this connection was established, his defense would be flawless, and he would not have any weaknesses. Without a doubt, the meat of the strange fish had helped Yi Chen a lot. Otherwise, He would not be able to train the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell to this level in such a short time. Even early condensing reality realm warriors would not be able to hurt him. Seeing that he was about to finish the meat of the strange fish, Yi Chen's strength had stopped at 12,000 pounds. Towards the end, every increase of 10 pounds of strength would be 10 times more difficult than before. It was almost the limit of his body. If he wanted to continue to increase his strength, he would have to make a breakthrough. At night, a bright moon was hanging high in the sky. The bright moonlight shone through the window, making the room look hazy. Outside the window, the shadows of the trees stuck to the ground, which added a sense of serenity to the room. Yi Chen sat on the bed with his legs crossed, holding a soul stone in each of his hands. Originally, Yi Chen did not dare to train with 2 soul stones. Although it would double the speed of increasing his qi, the huge amount of yuan qi from the soul stones would break his meridians and turn him into a useless person. However, since his body condition had been greatly improved, and the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell was almost completed, using 1 soul stone to train was already a piece of cake. Using 2 soul stones at the same time was just right. As the huge amount of yuan qi from the soul stones turned into qi, the qi whirlpool in Yi Chen's dantian kept expanding, and finally filled up his dantian. Fortunately, the pure jade body boosting spell could strengthen his dantian, and the meat of the strange fish had also strengthened his dantian. Otherwise, it would be very easy for him to have problems. Whoosh! The qi whirlpool suddenly shrunk by 30%, and became the same size as before. Yi Chen opened his eyes, and slowly let out a breath. Finally, the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. The condensing reality realm is even harder than I thought. In order to reach the condensing reality realm, one had to liquefy the qi into Jin qi, which was a very difficult process. The further one advanced, the harder it would be to compress the qi, and there might even be a rebound effect. Compared to other people, Yi Chen's breakthrough was already much easier. The pure yuan art was famous for its purity, and it was easy to control. However, when it was time to break through to the condensing reality realm, Yi Chen would not be able to continue refining the yuan qi from the soul stones. No matter how pure the yuan qi was, it would still take some time to merge with the qi inside the body, which would have a huge side effect on reaching the condensing reality realm. Standing up and walking to the window, Yi Chen looked out at the night sky, and said to himself, "The Yi family meeting will start in half a month, it's time to go home." Chapter 36. The distance from the Sky Cloud Martial School to the Maple Leaf City where the Yi family lived was about 12,000 miles. Even with 1,000 miles horse, it would take 12 days to get there. If there were any delays in the middle, half a month would be just enough. However, this world was different from the world where Yi Chen came from. 1,000 miles horse was nothing. The fastest horse in the Windy Nation was the Ghost-Eye Jade Lion, which had the bloodline of a demonic beast. It could run 3,300 miles a day. It was produced in the Devil Grassland in the east of the Windy Nation. It was extremely hard to catch and tame. Even the most common one could be sold for 100,000 gold. Although warriors could make a lot of money, only a few could afford a Ghost-Eye Jade Lion. The reason was that warriors spent money like water. For example, Yi Chen could earn 10,000 or 20,000 in 4 to 5 days. However, after he bought the pellets, he would not have much left. Especially the higher the level of the pellets, the more expensive it would be. It could even be more expensive than a Ghost-Eye Jade Lion. After asking for 1.5 months' leave from the outer master, Yi Chen hurriedly started his journey back. He was riding a Cyan Manor horse, which could run 1,200 miles a day, which was worth 5,000 silver. As for the dark brown horse, which could run 2,000 miles a day, it was not that he could not afford it, but he could not control it at that time. Higher. At the foot of the mountain, Yi Chen squeezed the horse's belly with both of his legs and sped away. After the Windy Town was the closest city to the Sky Cloud Martial School, the Windy City. Walking out from the south gate of the Windy City, Yi Chen's vision suddenly widened. The sky was blue, the clouds were pure white, the wind was wild, and the land was flat. Everything was presented in front of Yi Chen's eyes. Riding on the horse at lightning speed, Yi Chen had an urge to roar into the sky. He had never thought that one day, He would be able to be like the martial artists in the martial arts novels, traveling in the martial world alone with a sword, although he was not really traveling in the martial world yet. Tat 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 tat. Nearby, a few martial artists rode over. Little brother, let's go to the Silent Hills to hunt some demonic beasts. How about you join us? Yi Chen had no intention of slowing down his horse. He turned his head and said, I'm sorry, I still have something to do. What could be more important than making money? You should know that with our strength, killing a third-level demonic beast is nothing difficult for us. The leading guest of the Jianghu wore a bamboo hat and had a scar on his face. He was still trying to persuade them patiently. Yi Chen sneered, sorry, I will take my leave now. Go. With a shake of the reins, the Cyan Manor horse's speed reached its limit. This brat is too cunning. I won't be able to scheme against him. Scar-faced man's expression was cold. Boss, why didn't you stop him just now? He's riding a cyan bristled horse, so he must be very rich. If we did this, it would be enough for us to enjoy ourselves for half a month. Yeah. Judging from his appearance, he should be a young master of some family. The scar-faced man reprimanded, what do you know? This brat's eyes are sharp, and he has a murderous aura about him. He's definitely not a good person. Be careful not to fail miserably. After saying that, his tone changed. It's almost the end of the year. All the disciples of the small sects within 1,000 miles have returned home. There will be plenty of opportunities. Don't take your life as a joke. That's right. Boss, you have great foresight. All right, let's go. The group turned their horses around and headed back to the Windy City. Far away from them, Yi Chen sneered. These people must have thought of him as one of those arrogant martial artists who had never traveled the martial world. Once he agreed to go to the Silent Hills with them, he would definitely show his true colors as a robber and kill them for their treasures. Unfortunately, even though Yi Chen had never traveled the martial world, he had a lot of experience. It was all thanks to the dozens of wuxia novels he had read during his high school and university. Tens of thousands of miles away, a young man was also riding a Cyan Manor horse, running as fast as lightning. The young man was wearing a white robe, carrying a great blade on his back. He had a handsome face, and looked a bit similar to Yi Chen. The Purple Sun Martial School is right in front of me. I said I would meet up with my big brother. I wonder if he is waiting for me there. The young man looked into the distance. A majestic mountain was standing there. It was faintly glowing with a light purple color. It looked majestic, and purple chi was coming from the east. After a while, the young man arrived at the foot of the mountain. Yi Tang, you are here. There were a lot of Purple Sun Martial School disciples at the foot of the mountain. They were all wearing purple robes with a fire sun embroidered on the back. One of them, a young man with big eyes and bushy eyebrows, said. The handsome young man rode his horse and walked over. Big brother, your Purple Sun Martial School is not bad. It is not like the North Snow Martial Academy, where it snows all year round. The bushy-eyebrowed young man was the eldest son of Yi Chen's eldest uncle. His name was Yi Feng, and the handsome young man was his younger brother, Yi Tang. One of them had entered the rank 8 Purple Sun Martial School, and the other had entered the rank 7 North Snow Martial Academy. Both of them were much more talented than Yi Chen. Yi Feng said, I would like to go to the North Snow Martial Academy, but I am not talented enough. Don't be too greedy. Yi Tang smiled and looked at Yi Feng carefully. Big brother, you have reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 9. Not bad. Reaching the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 9 from early Mortal Realm Stage 4 in 3 years was already considered above average. The martial school would also pay attention to such a person. How can I be compared to you? You should be at Mortal Realm Stage 10 now. Yi Feng could not see through Yi Tang, or rather, he had never seen through him. Yi Tang said with a bit of pride, I barely reached the condensing reality realm, my Zhen Qi is not stable yet. You have reached the condensing reality realm? Yi Feng was shocked. Although the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 was only one step away from the condensing reality realm, it was extremely difficult to cross the threshold. Many disciples with above-average talent had to spend more than half a year to cross the threshold and officially become an inner disciple. There was no need to show off in front of his brother, so Yi Tang changed the topic. Let's not talk about this. Speaking of the family meeting, I wonder how that trash Yi Chen is doing. Don't tell me he has not reached Mortal Realm Stage 7 yet. It is so embarrassing to be in the same family as him. Yi Feng put away his jealousy and chuckled. The more you train, the harder it is to improve. I think he might not even reach late Mortal Realm Stage 6. Let's go back and teach him a lesson, let him know how useless he is. Now that I think about it, I miss those days. There were people waiting on me every day, and I could bully Yi Chen when I was unhappy. But he was quite stubborn, he never told his parents. Mph, what's the use of telling them? Our father is an inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School. He is not afraid of Yi Chen's father, although he is the leader of the Yi family. Oh, right, is father coming home this year? Yi Feng nodded. Father said he would be a few days late, so we should go back first. I see. Then let's go back first. I think that trash Yi Chen should be leaving the Sky Cloud Martial School soon. And Yi Xian, I wonder what level she has reached. If there was one disciple in the Yi family that Yi Tang valued, it would be Yi Xian. When he was at Mid-Mortal Realm Stage 5, she was at Late Mortal Realm Stage 5, which made him depressed for a while. But now that 3 years had passed, he should be ahead of her. Yi Feng no longer expected to surpass Yi Tang, not to mention that Yi Xian was his own brother. In the future, when Yi Tang became successful, he would be proud as well. In the true spirit continent, there are very few women who can become powerful warriors. Maybe her cultivation is just at the same level as mine. Yi Tang thought it was reasonable. Let's go. All right. The two rode their horses and left. Chapter 37. Qing Yuan River, the biggest river in Luo City. It was 2,700 miles long, the widest part was 12 miles, and the narrowest part was only 2 to 3 miles. Wooden boats were crossing the river, scattered all over the place. Yi Chen stood at the front of the boat with his horse, looking into the distance. There was a magnificent city, square in shape, with a tall tower in the center, which could be seen clearly from miles away. Young warrior, are you going home to visit your family? The boatman who was paddling saw Yi Chen wearing a blue robe with a great sword on his waist. No matter how the boat moved, he could not move at all, so he couldn't help but ask. Yi Chen nodded. I haven't been home for 3 years. During the last 2 family meetings, Yi Chen did not go back, because even if he did, it would still be embarrassing. But this time was different. Even if the family did not send an announcement, he would still go back and take back his dignity. Going back is a must. Nothing is better than home. The boatman seemed to think of his wife at home, a warm smile appeared on his face, and he did not feel tired anymore. Yi Chen was actually a bit conflicted. Going home meant seeing his parents. Although he had merged with Yi Chen's soul from this world and accepted all of his feelings, he was still the one controlling the body. In other words, Yi Chen's consciousness had disappeared, and he was still himself in the 21st century. When the boat reached the shore, Yi Chen threw a whole piece of silver to the boatman. Young warrior, there is no need for this much. The boatman was dazed for a second, then he said honestly. Yi Chen waved his hand, jumped on his horse, and rushed towards Luo City. Looking at Yi Chen's back, the boatman was both envious and happy. He envied the warrior's generosity, never having to worry about money, and he was happy that 10 silvers would be able to buy a couple of beautiful clothes for his wife, and there would still be more than half left. He thought she would be very happy. Luo City. After showing the Yi family's disciple badge to the guards, Yi Chen rode his horse and flew into the city. The Yi family was located in the south of Luo City, covering 1,000 acres of land. In front of the gate, there was a pair of stone lions that were as tall as 2 people. The red gate was decorated with shiny copper nails and rings, and the guards at the gate were all dressed in bright clothes. They were obviously mortal realm warriors. Young Master Chen has returned. Hearing the sound of the horse's hooves, the servants looked over. When they saw the young man dressed in blue, their eyes lit up and they called out loudly, "Young Master Chen, I'll take the reins." A servant hurriedly ran over to take the reins. After getting off the horse, Yi Chen asked, "Are my parents home?" The servant said, "Master and mistress are both here. I've already sent someone to inform them. All right, I'll go pay my respects to them right away. After passing through the entrance, Yi Chen was led by a servant to the entrance of the main hall. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen stepped inside. The main hall was spacious, and inside stood a man and a woman. The man was about 40 years old, his face was pale and beardless, and his body was tall. Just by standing there, he emitted an indescribable sense of majesty, making people unable to look at him directly. The woman looked like she was in her 30s, she was extremely beautiful, graceful, and had a pair of bright eyes just like Yi Chen's, and her body was just like a young girl's. These two were Yi Chen's father, Yi Tianhao, and his mother, Shen Yuqing. Father, mother. At this moment, Yi Chen naturally bowed down, as if there was an invisible force controlling him. Shen Yuqing's face was filled with excitement. She walked over and helped him up. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. Yi Tianhao smiled and nodded. He was about to say something, but suddenly he was surprised. Chenna, you've reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. Is it true? Shen Yuqing was so excited to see her son that she didn't notice anything. Looking at Yi Chen's qi again, it was so pure and powerful that it was only one step away from condensing Zhen qi. If it wasn't the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, then what else could it be? Chenna, what's going on? Normally, Shen Yuqing should be very happy, very happy. As an outer elder of the Rudra martial school, an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist, and her husband was the leader of the Yi family, she would never want her children to be weaker than others and be called trash by others. But now that her son had suddenly become a genius, she didn't know what to do. Although Yi Tianhao didn't say anything, his eyes had revealed what he was thinking. Yi Chen had already thought of what to say. He cleared his throat and said, I don't know what happened. I suddenly realized that training is very easy, just like eating and drinking. The more complicated a lie was, the easier it was to be exposed. Yi Chen knew this. Suddenly realized. Yi Tianhao didn't understand. Shen Yuqing thought for a while, then said to her husband, it's not like this hasn't happened before. There was a disciple in our Rudra martial school. He was just an ordinary disciple when he first joined the school, but after 1 or 2 years, he unexpectedly became smarter. He made a breakthrough in his cultivation and is now a core disciple. So, our Chenna is also a genius. Yi Tianhao didn't care about the Rudra martial school disciple, he only cared about his son. Shen Yuqing said, to be exact, he is an acquired genius. No matter if he is an acquired genius or an innate genius, he is still a genius. Haha, my Chenna is a genius, I am so happy. Yi Tianhao laughed out loud, he was in high spirits. Seeing his parents so happy, Yi Chen said seriously, don't worry, from now on, I, Yi Chen, will not be weaker than anyone else. Of course, in just 3 years, he went from early Mortal Realm Stage 2 to peak Mortal Realm Stage 10. Who dares to say that my son is weaker than anyone else? Shen Yuqing gently pushed Yi Tianhao, I know you are happy, but Chenna came back in a hurry, let him rest first, we will talk after dinner. You are right, Chenna, your yard is ready, go take a bath to get rid of your fatigue. Then I will leave now. Leaving the hall, Yi Chen followed his memory and went back to his yard. Hello, young master. A girl in green was already waiting for him in the yard. Yi Chen smiled, Queer, long time no see, you have grown up. Queer blushed, young master, you have grown up too. Hehe, you are right, is the bath water ready? Queer saw that Yi Chen was still so approachable, she let out a sigh of relief and said, it is ready, young master, this way please. In the bathroom. White steam filled the air. After letting Queer go out, Yi Chen took off his clothes and jumped into the tub naked. So comfortable. Moaning, Yi Chen lied down and closed his eyes. The situation was smoother than he had imagined. The most important thing was that he did not feel unfamiliar with Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing, as if they were his parents. Thinking of this, Yi Chen was deeply moved. In the 21st century, he did not know who his parents were. He was picked up from an orphanage, then went to primary school, middle school, university. Just like everyone else, there was nothing special about him. He did not expect that after coming to this world, he would also have his own parents. This kind of blood is thicker than water, it made him feel nostalgic. Chapter 38. The dinner was very rich, but of course, it was not about eating. Chen, why didn't you go to the South Rudra Martial School? If you were there, your mother would have been able to take care of you. Shen Yuqing was an outer master of the South Rudra Martial School. Although he did not have as much power as an inner master, he could go back home often. Plus, the South Rudra Martial School was not far from Luo City, only 2 or 3 days away. Yi Chen said, I just wanted to live alone. Isn't it nice now? Shen Yuqing sighed. You are right. If you went to the South Rudra Martial School, you might not be able to achieve what you have now. I almost ruined you. Yi Tianhao took a sip of wine and laughed. Do you have any hope of reaching the condensing reality realm? The Sky Cloud Martial School's inner disciple ranking competition will start in a few months. Probably at the end of this month. So confident. Shen Yuqing put down his chopsticks. Yi Chen explained, I have already condensed a little bit of Jin Qi in my body. Plus, I am training the pure Yuan art. I have already reached the peak of the 5th stage. Gasp. Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing gasped. Many of the martial institutions in the Windy Nation had repeated mortal realm martial arts. The South Rudra Martial School also had the pure Yuan art. However, only a few people could reach the 5th stage of the pure Yuan art when they were still in the mortal realm, not to mention the peak of the 5th stage. With a bitter smile, Shen Yuqing said, back in the day, when I was still an outer disciple of the South Rudra Martial School, I was also training the pure Yuan art, but I could only reach the peak of the 4th stage. I did not expect that my son would be even more successful than me. Yi Tianhao nodded. He finally understood how talented Yi Chen was. At least in terms of martial arts training, he was as talented as most of the other geniuses. Oh right, I have some bad news for you. Yi Tang and Yi Xian have already reached the condensing reality realm. Shen Yuqing said seriously. She didn't want to say it at first because she didn't want to hurt Yi Chen's enthusiasm. However, it was better to say it out loud so that he wouldn't have to bear a bigger contrast. Yi Chen nodded. I know about Yi Xian breaking through to the condensing reality realm, but there is one more thing you don't know. Ji Xuan had already gone to the Sky Cloud Martial School and asked to cancel the engagement with me. Cancel the engagement? The chopsticks in Yi Tianhao's hand were broken into 2. His expression was very ugly. He snorted coldly and said, Yu Qing, I already said that this marriage is not reliable. Now the consequences are here. The marriage has been broken off in front of everyone. How do you expect Chen to live? Shen Yuqing was stunned for a long time. When he recovered, he said, Ji Xuan's mother and I are like sisters. I'll go and talk to her later. What are you talking about? Is there no one who likes our Chen? Yi Chen looked calm. You don't have to worry. This incident didn't affect me. If you want to cancel the engagement, so be it. I don't plan to get married too early anyways. Shen Yuqing was a mother after all. Her son was wronged. She felt bad too. She said sarcastically, in a few years, she will know that she made the wrong choice. She is wrong now. My son is already a genius. He can have all kinds of women in the future. Yi Tianhao was even more extreme than Shen Yuqing. Not wanting to continue this topic, Shen Yuqing said, Ji Xuan, let's put this thing aside for now. Right now, the most important thing is the family meeting at the end of the year. There will be a total of 18 people from the Yi family. The top 3 will get the full support of the family, and the champion will get a low-rank storage ring. A low-rank storage ring? Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat. The mid-rank storage ring he had was too eye-catching. Not only the condensing reality realm warriors would want it, even the clasping Yuan realm warriors would want it. It was not safe at all. If he had a low-rank storage ring, he could avoid a lot of trouble. In the family meeting at the end of the year, I will be the champion. In other people's eyes, Yi Chen was very arrogant when he said this, but he did not think so. Good, very aggressive. I like it. Whether you get the champion or not, your mother and I will buy you a low-rank storage ring. Shen Yuqing nodded and said, as long as you work hard, you can have anything you want. After all, I have been an outer master of the Rudra Martial School for so many years, I still have some savings. Yi Chen smiled. He was lucky to have parents like this. However, he still preferred to fight with his own hands. Of course, he could not say too much right now. He knew that his parents did not have much hope for him to get the champion. After all, the condensing reality realm and the condensing reality realm were two completely different things. After dinner, Yi Chen went back to his yard. The moonlight outside was like water. The whole Yi family was silent. Inside the house, Yi Chen sat on the bed with his legs crossed. His breathing was steady and powerful. Contrary to the quietness outside, Yi Chen's body was filled with turbulence. His qi was circulating at a speed 3 times faster than usual. And with each cycle, the qi whirlpool in Yi Chen's dantian would have an extra trace of liquid qi, gathering in the center. After an hour, Yi Chen opened his eyes and mumbled to himself tiredly, "No wonder so many people are stuck at the peak of mortal realm stage 10 for more than half a year. Converting qi into qi is too hard. No matter how talented you are, you can't do it in one day. But at this speed, I should be able to reach the condensing reality realm in 10 days." Seriously speaking, very few people could predict when they would make a breakthrough, but Yi Chen was different. His soul power was twice that of normal people, and the highest level of the pure Yuan art, his qi was also extremely pure, which allowed him to accurately predict the timing of his breakthrough with very little error, which he had already tested before. Slowly letting out a breath, Yi Chen got off the bed and went to the yard to practice his sword arts. The next day, the Yi family was bustling with noise and excitement. It was not because the family meeting had started, but because the 2 geniuses of the Yi family had returned. Yi Tang and Yi Xian, not just the Yi family, even the whole Luo city knew about them. One of them had reached the early mortal realm stage 5 at the age of 12, and the other had reached the mid-mortal realm stage 5. One had joined the rank 7 martial school, the North Snow Martial Academy, and the other had joined the rank 7 martial school, the Emerald Martial Palace. It was hard to tell who was better. Besides them, Yi Feng was also quite famous, but compared to these two, he was not as famous. Besides these 3, there were many other disciples in the Yi family. Some of them had joined martial institutions a few years ago, some were training outside, and some were traveling the world with their masters. Now, they were all returning to the Yi family, preparing for the family meeting that was going to be held in a few days. For the servants of the Yi family, guessing who would get the first place was their biggest pleasure, and this year was no exception. It was said that they had secretly started a bet. The ones with the highest winning rate were obviously Yi Tang and Yi Xian. Unexpectedly, Yi Feng did not get the 3rd place, but the 5th place. The 3rd place was taken by Yi Hai, who was traveling the world with his master. The 4th place was taken by Yi Ming, who was training outside, and Yi Chen was the 18th place. Yi Chen did not know any of this, but even if he knew, he would not care. After all, the 1st place was not something that could be won easily, it was all about strength. Chapter 39. On the west side of the Yi family's training ground. A few people were walking and chatting. The leader of the group was a teenager about 16 or 17 years old. He was wearing a black robe, carrying a blade on his back. He had a determined look on his face, and his body was emitting a faint murderous vibe. "Brother Yi Hai, I think only you and Yi Tang and Yi Xian can compete for the 1st place in this year's family meeting." The teenager who was talking seemed to admire the teenager in black a lot. Yi Hai said lightly, "I was apprenticed to my master when I was 13. For the past 3 years, I have followed him around the world. I have been to the Devil Grassland in the Windy Nation, the Rudra Nation, the Black Dragon Empire with billions of people. I have fought sharks on the Changbai River, lived in the Mud Dolls Desert for a month, and did not sleep for 3 days and 3 nights without eating anything. Therefore, for me, the 1st place in the family meeting is nothing. As for Yi Ming, although he has also trained hard outside, he is only at mortal realm stage 10, so he is not a threat." What's so great about training? You will never know the importance of a martial institution if you have never been in one. Not far away, another 3 or 4 people walked over. Yi Tang, who was wearing a white robe, looked at Yi Hai provocatively. Yi Hai glanced at Yi Tang. Indeed, the training system of the martial institutions is perfect, but in front of me, who has killed dozens of people, How much of your power can you use? Killing. I thought you were going to say something. Yi Tang laughed, pointed at Yi Hai and said, Our North Snow Martial Academy is trained in the art of killing. Although I am not talented, I have killed dozens of people. Your so-called killing is bullying people who are weaker than you, right? Have you ever challenged someone who is stronger than you? Have you ever felt like you were on the verge of death? Do you have any experience of turning defeat into victory? You have nothing, you just kill people to show off. Yi Hai's 3 questions made Yi Tang speechless. He retorted, It is useless to say anything now. We will see who is better at the family meeting. Let's go. After Yi Tang and his people left, the teenager next to Yi Hai said, Brother Yi Hai, I support you. That Yi Tang is nothing special. Yi Hai shook his head, No, seriously speaking, he is not weaker than me, maybe even stronger. The North Snow Martial Academy's art of killing is the best in the Windy Nation, no one can compete with it. But winning or losing is not just a competition of power. By the way, are there any new powerful figures in the Yi family recently? Yi Hai asked. The top 5 would be you, Yi Xian, Yi Tang, Yi Ming, and Yi Feng. The others wouldn't catch your eye. What about that Yi Chen? Yi Chen is still a piece of trash, at most Mortal Realm Stage 6. Strange, it's been 5 years and I'm still at Mortal Realm Stage 6. On average, I've improved a little more than 1 stage every year. Are you guys mistaken? How is that possible? Apart from being the patriarch's son, that guy has nothing good about him. He's really a disgrace to our Yi clan. Since there aren't any powerful disciples, I have a 60% chance of winning first place. Yi Hai was very confident in himself. He firmly believed that these 3 years of life and death tempering would be an unshakable driving force for his future development. 3 days passed in a flash. The clan meeting at the end of the year began. Early morning. After washing up, Yi Chen tidied up his clothes and walked towards the Yi family's training ground with his great steel sword. The drill ground was packed with people, and it was bustling with noise and excitement. Almost all the servants and warriors living in the Yi family had come to watch the family meeting martial arts competition. In addition, some of the big shots in Luo City had also come, taking the opportunity to observe the strength of the new generation of the Yi family. Looking around, Yi Chen found a relatively quiet contestant seat and walked over. On the VIP seats, Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing were sitting next to each other. On the right side of Yi Tianhao was a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. His body was a little fat, his every movement carried an invisible pressure. It was obvious that he was a big shot, and not just any big shot. Patriarch Yi, may I ask which one is your son? The middle-aged man said with a smile. Yi Tianhao had already noticed where Yi Chen was. He pointed over and said, Mayor Lin, that is my son. Sorry for the embarrassment. The middle-aged man was none other than the mayor of the Luo city. He was in charge of the city's military, and was an early clasping Yuan realm warrior himself. However, no matter who he was, he would still be a level lower in front of Yi Tianhao. As one of the top 8 families, the Yi family was not something that a mayor could compare with. To put it bluntly, the Yi family was in charge of the Luo city. Whenever the mayor made an important decision, he would have to consider the Yi family's opinion. Mayor Lin looked at Yi Chen, he looked at him carefully, and said confusedly, Looks like the rumors can't be trusted. This kid is obviously at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, just 1 step away from the condensing reality realm. Shen Yuqing, who was standing right next to Yi Tianhao, showed a proud smile. To be honest, even us parents are surprised. It seems like the training outside is working for him after all. Hehe. This year's Yi family gathering will not be easy. I will wait and see. With his powerful soul power, Yi Chen sensed that someone was staring at him, and there was more than one of them. One was his parents and Mayor Lin, the second was his third uncle and his son, Yi Ming, and the third was Yi Hai, who had been traveling with his master. Yi Ming's cultivation was lower than his, only at the late Mortal Realm Stage 10. Yi Hai was much more powerful, already at the early condensing reality realm. Perhaps he did not have any powerful martial skills or martial arts, but after traveling outside for so many years, he could not be underestimated. Plus, this time, His master must have taught him one or two of his trump cards, which would help him win the first place. Interesting. I knew it. How could he reach Mortal Realm Stage 6 in 5 years? He has already reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. Yi Hai nodded slightly, but he did not seem to care. In his eyes, only Yi Tang and Yi Xian were his opponents. All of a sudden, a powerful aura swept across the entire field, which made everyone quiet down and looked towards the east. Ha 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 ha, how could I, Yi Batian, be absent from the family gathering at the end of the year? The crowd automatically parted, and a burly middle-aged man walked over with a majestic gait. He wore a purple brocade robe, and there was a fiery sun embroidered on the sleeves of his robe. There were also exquisite patterns on the edges of the robe. A pair of tiger-like eyes glared at someone, and the people in that area even stopped breathing for fear of attracting his attention. This man was Yi Chen's eldest uncle, the inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School, Yi Batian. Next to him were Yi Tang and Yi Feng. The two walked with Yi Batian, looking quite proud and arrogant. Their eyes were almost looking down on the crowd. Although Yi Batian was not as powerful as Yi Tianhao in the Yi family, his status was not lower than Yi Tianhao's. Sometimes, Yi Batian would even go against Yi Tianhao and embarrass him. Yi Tianhao could not do anything about it. Yi Batian was an inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School, one of the most influential people in the Purple Sun Martial School. Yi Batian's cultivation was extremely high, reaching the late clasping Yuan realm. He could be called the most powerful warrior in the Yi family. Although the Yi family was one of the top 8 families, it was still far behind the rank 8 Purple Sun Martial School. Perhaps only the Duanmu family, which was the leader of the top 8 families, could compete with the Yi family. Brother Batian, I did not expect that this year's family meeting would even disturb you. Yeah, Brother Batian, you haven't been back for years, right? This year's family meeting is over, let's go have a few drinks to welcome you back. All the powerful people around started to flatter Yi Batian, even more so than Yi Tianhao, as if they were slaves. Yi Batian waved his hand. All right, I will give you face. After saying that, he walked to the VIP seats in big steps, and signaled Shun Yuqing to leave with his eyes. His eyes were full of undeniable power and dominance. Yi Tianhao had a bad look on his face. Shun Yuqing knew that the situation was not in his favor, so he stood up and said, "Brother, please sit." "All right, then I will do as you say." He sat down and put his palm on the table, making a muffled sound. In the distance, Yi Chen's eyes were burning with anger. Chapter 40. Recalling the past, Yi Chen finally realized why Yi Chen in this world did not tell his parents when he was being bullied. The biggest reason was because of Yi Batian. Yi Batian was extremely protective. Even if it was his own son who was in the wrong, he would protect him till the end, which would inevitably lead to a conflict with his father, Yi Tianhao. Plus, the Yi family was not just ruled by Yi Tianhao alone, there was also the Elder Council. With Yi Batian's status as an inner elder of the Purple Sun Martial School, there would be a lot of elders supporting him, which would not solve any problems. Plus, it was best for the younger generation to solve their own problems. If Yi Tianhao got involved, his reputation would definitely drop, which would be exactly what some people wanted. Yi Batian was extremely sensitive. He immediately noticed Yi Chen's gaze, as if he was surprised by his cultivation. He said to Yi Tianhao, who was standing next to him, "I haven't been back for 3 years, even a useless person has become a normal person. Too bad, he is still not in the top 3. Yi Tianhao said in a low voice, "Please be more respectful." Mayor Lin sensed the tension between the two, so he tried to be the peacemaker. "Today is the Yi family meeting, don't let the outsiders laugh at you. Brother Batian, I'll buy you a drink in a few days." Hihi, how could I say no to Mayor Lin's invitation? Yi Batian did not want to have a conflict with Yi Tianhao, so he gave him a chance to step down. When the competition was about to start, Yi Xian finally arrived. She was accompanied by 2 female disciples of the Yi family, both of them were at least Mortal Realm Stage 7. Mayor Lin's eyes brightened when he saw Yi Xian. This girl is very talented, she is already at the peak of early condensing reality realm at such a young age. Yi Tianhao nodded. Indeed, Her cultivation speed could be said to be the fastest in the history of the Yi family. Yi Wenhao has a good daughter. Mei Lin was a bit jealous. Yi Batian felt a bit uneasy. Although his second son Yi Tang was a genius, he had only reached the early condensing reality realm 2 months ago. Obviously, he was much weaker than Yi Xian. Fortunately, she was his fourth brother's daughter, not his second brother's. Thinking about this, Yi Batian glanced at Yi Tianhao. When the time was up, Yi Tianhao stood up and said in a loud voice, "The Yi family's year-end clan meeting will officially begin. Same old rules, during the competition, you are not allowed to intentionally injure others. Those who break the rules will be severely punished." After saying that, Yi Tianhao glanced at the third elder on the judge's stand and nodded at him. The third elder was in charge of the Yi family's activities. He cleared his throat, stood up and said, "There are a total of 18 contestants. Everyone, go to the wooden box and draw lots. The contestant who draws lot 1 will fight against contestant number 2. The contestant who draws lot 3 will fight against contestant number 4, and so on. Everyone, draw lots now." With regards to these rules, the Yi clan's disciples could not be more familiar with them. One by one, they ran to the big wooden box in the corner and stretched out their hands to take the wooden sticks. Yi Chen was the last one to go, and he drew lot 7. After everyone had drawn lots, the third elder yelled, "The competition begins now. Contestants 1 and 2, please come on the stage." Contestant number 1 was a disciple of the Yi clan who was not that famous. His name was Yi Chao, and his opponent was Yi Tang. "I give up." Yi Chao raised his hand in frustration. Hearing him, no one laughed at him. One was a Mortal Realm Stage 8 warrior, and the other was an early condensing reality realm warrior. There was no need for them to compete, it would just be a waste of time. The third elder stood up again before he even sat down, contestant number 3 versus contestant number 4. Yi clan's disciples had to admit that other than Yi Xian and the other geniuses, there were still some geniuses. Contestant number 3 and contestant number 4 were both at Mortal Realm Stage 9. Neither of them were willing to give in to the other, and they were fighting in the middle of the training ground. Sunset palm, mountain splitting fists. The two did not continue to fight, they both performed their martial arts and clashed against each other. Boom. Contestant number 4 was slightly weaker after all, and was pushed back a few steps. Contestant number 3 did not stop there, and after a few attacks, he kicked his opponent away. Contestant number 3, Yi He wins. Then it was contestant number 5 and 6. The winner was contestant number 6. Contestant number 7, Yi Chen, against contestant number 8, Yi Feng, come on. The voice that had not been heard for a long time came. Yi Chen took a deep breath and slowly walked onto the stage. Yi Feng's face was very pale. He thought that Yi Chen was only at Mortal Realm Stage 6, and would not be able to threaten him at all. Who knew that Yi Chen would be so lucky to reach the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, which was 1 stage higher than him? Yi Chen, don't think that you can win just because you have a higher cultivation. My mastery of martial skills is not something you can compete with. The only thing Yi Feng was confident about was his advantage in martial skills. Otherwise, he would not have the confidence to beat Yi Chen. Yi Chen said lightly, "Are you done? Let's begin." Yi Feng's eyes flashed with anger. His huge body rushed out like a cheetah, and arrived in front of Yi Chen within a few breaths. He threw out a palm attack. Burning sun cloud hand. Swoosh. The air suddenly boiled, and an intense heat wave swept towards Yi Chen without mercy. King Kong smash. Yi Chen did not need to use any tricks, he just threw out his King Kong fist, which went through the heat wave and clashed with Yi Feng's palm. Pooh! Yi Feng felt a huge force attack his body, and he was blown away, puking out a mouthful of blood. On the VIP seats, Yi Tianhao was a little surprised. He thought that the two would fight for a while, but it was only one attack, and the winner was decided. Yi Batian sneered, and his face turned green. On the contestants' seats, Yi Tang sneered, "I'll let you be arrogant for a while, but don't ever meet me, or else I will make you lose all your face." Yi Xian was a little surprised. The last time she saw Yi Chen, he was only at Mortal Realm Stage 6. How did he improve so fast? Could it be that the incident with Sister Shuyan had stimulated him? Well, it made sense. But he did not have this kind of talent. Maybe he had used some kind of pellet to increase his power. The first round of the competition ended quickly. The contestants who made it to the next round were number 2 contestant Yi Tang, number 3 contestant Yi He, number 6 contestant Yi Jun, number 7 contestant Yi Chen, number 10 contestant Yi Hai, number 11 contestant Yi Ming, number 14 contestant Yi Xian, number 16 contestant Yi Jin, and number 17 contestant Yi Lin. Although Yi Chen had performed well, he did not attract too much attention. The most eye-catching contestants were obviously Yi Tang, Yi Hai, and Yi Xian. The opponents of these three had either forfeited, or were blown away by one attack. Their power was way beyond the other disciples of the Yi family. In many people's eyes, the top 3 would definitely be them. The top 3. I really don't know who will win. Mayor Lin was actually more optimistic about Yi Xian, but he could not say it out loud. Otherwise, it would make Yi Batian unhappy, and he would feel uncomfortable. Yi Batian finally showed a smile. Yi Xian is not bad, Yi Hai is also very experienced, and Tang had learned the blizzard sword art from the North Snow Martial Academy. I wonder how much he has mastered it. As for that Yi Ming, other than his lower cultivation, he should be able to get the 4th place. As for the 5th place, it should be the number 6 contestant Yi Jun. After all, he is also a disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School. Yi Tianhao did not care about Yi Beishan's words. What he cared about was Yi Chen. He did not know if Yi Chen would give him another surprise and kill Yi Beishan's spirit. Chapter 41. After a 15-minute break, the second round of the competition began. Just like the first round, the second round was also a battle between 2 contestants next to each other. Yi Tang against Yi He, Yi Jun against Yi Chen, Yi Hai against Yi Ming, Yi Xian against Yi Jin. As for the number 17 contestant, Yi Lin, he could choose the remaining contestant. If he won, he would take his opponent's place. If he lost, he would be eliminated. On the field. Unexpectedly, Yi He did not give up. He said to Yi Tang in white, "I will not let you win so easily." Yi Tang sneered, "That's for the best, otherwise it would be too boring." The third elder saw that the two were ready. He yelled, "Begin." Shoo. Almost at the same time as the third elder spoke, Yi He had already flashed out. His crouching figure did not move in a straight line, but in a random arc, like a ferocious viper hunting for its prey, ready to launch a fatal attack at any time. High-rank Mortal Realm Step Art, 9 Snake Twisting Step. Someone recognized the martial art that Yi He was using. I heard that to train the 9 Snake Twisting Steps, one's body must be extremely flexible, and only the user knows the pain. Yi He is not easy to deal with. Indeed, Yi He is one of the top outer disciples in the Rudra Martial School. Even a normal peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 warrior would not be able to win against him. Yi Tang had just reached the condensing reality realm 2 months ago, so his Jin Qi is not stable yet. If he could win against Yi He within 10 attacks, maybe even more. Contrary to everyone else's opinion, Yi Chen did not think Yi He would win. Although the Sky Cloud Martial School did not have the 9 Snake Twisting Steps manual, it did not stop him from commenting. Yi He's 9 Snake Twisting Steps seemed to be untraceable and fast, but every time he turned, there would be a moment of pause. This was because Yi Tang had not mastered it yet, and if Yi Tang still had good eyesight, he would not let go of this flaw. Just as expected. Just as Yi He was about to turn and attack again, Yi Tang moved. A white shadow flashed, and his palm was as straight as a blade. He chopped down 3 times. The first and second blows shook off Yi He's left and right arms respectively. The third blow landed heavily on Yi He's chest, making a crisp cracking sound. In an instant, Yi He's entire body was sent flying. He fell on the ground more than 10 meters away, unable to get up for a while. This Yi Tang is really ruthless. Yi Chen could clearly hear the sound of ribs breaking. He could not help but frown. On the VIP seats, Yi Batian chuckled, "Warriors should have a kind of ruthlessness, otherwise they won't be able to achieve great things." "Well done." Yi Tianhao retorted, "We're all family. There's no need to be so heavy-handed. Sometimes, members of the same family are not necessarily on the same side. Besides, if he loses to his own family, he will at most be bedridden for a month or two. If he loses to an outsider, he will never wake up. If we don't let him know the cruelty of the outside world, how can he survive better? Yi Batian didn't take Yi Tianhao's words to heart. As an inner elder of the Ziyang house, he naturally had his own theories. In the midst of the commotion, the second round of the competition began. Yi Jun was just like his name, he was quite handsome. His handsomeness was different from Yi Tang's handsomeness, and it was also different from Yi Chen's handsomeness. His handsomeness was just perfect. Just by looking at his facial features, it was hard to find any flaws. Walking slowly to Yi Chen, Yi Jun said lightly, "You're going to lose." "Really?" Yi Chen smiled. Hearing him, Yi Jun's eyebrows twitched. His opponent's casual tone made him feel a little uneasy, but he quickly got rid of that thought. He had joined the Purple Sun Martial School 1 year earlier than Yi Feng, and he was already 16 years old. He had reached the mid-mortal realm stage 10, and he had always been a low-key person, so who would know that he had already surpassed Yi Feng? Everyone thought that he was still at the mortal realm stage 9. "Sister Yi Xian, who do you think will win?" On the side of the female contestants, Yi Xiaomai, who looked like she was only 13, asked. Yi Xian said calmly, "Yi Jun has a higher chance of winning." Yi Xiaomai did not believe her, but before, Yi Chen beat Yi Feng with only one punch. Yi Jun can't do that, can he? Yi Jin, who was going to fight Yi Xian in the 4th round, shook her head and said, "Little girl, Yi Xian is the fastest genius to reach the condensing reality realm in the history of our Yi family. She must have a point." Yi Xiaomai made a face. Did a genius words always have to be right? Xiaomai is right. In terms of cultivation, Yi Chen is definitely stronger. But the battle is not just about cultivation. Before, Yi Chen could beat Yi Feng with only one punch because of his powerful qi. Next, Yi Jun will definitely not do what Yi Chen wants and fight head-on. With his experience and mastery of martial skills, he has a high chance of beating Yi Chen. Yi Xian said calmly. While the three of them were discussing, the two on the stage had already started fighting. Ha! Yi Jun let out a breath and his eyes suddenly lit up. His tightly clenched fists started to emit hot air, like 2 pieces of burning iron. His feet moved, and Yi Jun jumped 7 to 8 meters, attacking Yi Chen crazily. Burning Fire Fist. No, it should be the Purple Sun Martial School's Burning Fire Fist. It is even more powerful than the Burning Fire Fist. Facing the incoming fist shadows, Yi Chen took them all in. He drew a half circle with both of his hands, and pushed out his King Kong Infinite. Boom! A loud explosion was heard, and the dust on the ground was blown up. At the same time, a human figure jumped out of the dust. It was Yi Jun. He spread his arms like a giant bird spreading its wings, and his long and powerful legs kicked out continuously. 18 kicks of ghost fire, puff, puff, puff. The sharp power rubbed against the air, creating a faint blue color, just like the ghost fire in the graveyard at night. Yi Batian was surprised, and then he said to Yi Tianhao proudly, "Second brother, your son is going to lose this time." The 18 kicks of ghost fire is a leg skill derived from the low-rank Earth Realm martial skill Great Sun Ghost King Kick. It is more than twice as powerful as normal top-rank Mortal Realm martial skills. In our Purple Sun Martial School, only 1 out of 100 outer disciples could master it, and even the inner disciples would have to spend a lot of time to learn it. I can't believe that Yi Jun has mastered it. The winner has not been decided yet. No matter what you say, it is meaningless. Although Yi Tianhao said so, there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. Shun Yuqing, who was sitting in another VIP seat, also had a serious look on her face. She had heard about the 18 kicks of Ghost Flame a long time ago. An inner disciple from the Rudra Martial School had gotten into a fight with an inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School when he was out on a mission. During the fight, the inner disciple's bones were all broken by the opponent's 18 kicks of Ghost Flame. He didn't even have the power to fight back, and since then, he had been disabled. "Chen don't force yourself," Shun Yuqing murmured. Yi Chen did not know what his parents were worried about. For him, this 18 kicks of ghost fire was indeed powerful, but it was impossible for it to hurt him. He just did not want to reveal all of his power yet, and he even wanted to save half of his power. After all, this was his ace card, and the fewer people who knew about it, the better. Let's try to break it up first. Yi Chen stepped back in a regular pattern, and used both of his fists to block, or to meet the incoming attacks with brute force, or to counterattack with brute force. Chapter 42. The King Kong fist seemed to come alive in Yi Chen's hands. It was able to block all of Yi Jun's kicks. Hard and soft as one, yin and yang, this is the highest level of hard and fierce fist arts. Mei Lin gasped. He had lived for so many years and had seen countless geniuses, but very few of them could reach Yi Chen's level in terms of martial arts. Yi Jun's face darkened. He had already thrown out 11 kicks, but still could not hurt Yi Chen at all. Yi Chen's strength was beyond his expectation. 4 swirling ghost fire, 3 kills. The next 7 kicks could be combined into 2 special attacks. Yi Jun used all of his chi and threw out a deadly attack towards Yi Chen. Right then, Yi Chen felt that he did not have enough martial skills. Excluding his sword arts, he only had one high-rank mortal realm skill, the King Kong fist, and the Tyrant fist, which was way too powerful. With his current level, it would be extremely hard for him to train it, and it might even hurt him. Before I go back, I have to reach the condensing reality realm. Once I become an inner disciple, I will be able to get as many top-rank mortal realm skills as I want. At least I won't be in such an awkward situation like now. Facing the dangerous situation, Yi Chen smiled bitterly. He increased his power to 30% of his peak and threw out 7 punches. Boom 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 boom. Clouds of chi exploded in the field, blowing Yi Chen back a couple of steps. He felt like he was floating on the ground. Looking up, he saw Yi Jun in purple robes like a kite with a broken string, drawing a beautiful arc in the air before landing at the edge of the crowd. Good, did I win beautifully? Only now did Yi Tianhao let out a breath of relief. He exchanged a look with Shen Yuqing and smiled. Yi Batian, who was standing on the side, laughed dryly. He looked at Yi Tang, hoping that his favorite son could help him. On the other side, Yi Xiaomai laughed heartlessly. I knew it. Yi Chen will win. Hearing this, Yi Shen frowned. In that instant, she clearly felt that Yi Chen's strength had doubled, or else he wouldn't have been able to defeat Yi Jun so easily. Yi Chen wins. The third match, Yi Hai versus Yi Ming. Although the third elder was a little surprised, he didn't think much of it. After all, Yi Chen's cultivation was higher than Yi Jun's, so it was only natural that he would win. The battle between Yi Hai and Yi Ming was very intense. Moreover, both of them had the same style. Every move and every technique was ruthless and decisive. They were not sloppy at all. Most of the time, it made people think that they had a grudge against each other and wanted to kill each other even if they had to risk their lives. Yi Ming, if you want to blame someone, blame it on your low cultivation base. Finally, Yi Hai unleashed the strength that he should have. He sent Yi Ming, who was fighting like a cornered beast, flying with 2 consecutive palm strikes. Yi Hai wins. The fourth battle, Yi Xian versus Yi Jin. In the crowd, Yi Jin thought about it and raised his hand. I give up. The third elder nodded and said to the last contestant, Yi Lin, now, you can choose your opponent. If you win, you can replace him. If you lose, you will be eliminated. Yi Lin looked at Yi Xian, Yi Tang and Yi Hai and shook his head. He then looked at Yi Chen and shook his head again. Third elder, I give up. He knew that he would not be able to win against the first 3. As for Yi Chen, although he was not a condensing reality realm warrior, but judging from his previous 2 battles, he knew that he would not be able to win against anyone who was below the condensing reality realm. So, why bother humiliating himself? He might as well just give up. At this point, he no longer cared about the top 3. Alright. Now, there are 4 people left. They are Yi Tang, Yi Chen, Yi Hai and Yi Xian. The first battle will be Yi Tang versus Yi Chen, and the second battle will be Yi Hai versus Yi Xian. The winner will enter the finals and fight against the other winner for the first place of the Yi family gathering. After that, there will be battles for the second and third place. Do you have any objections? The third elder glanced at the 4 people. Including Yi Chen, The 4 people shook their heads. The third elder then said, "If that is the case, why don't you all rest for 15 minutes and try to recover your lost Zhenqi, just in case you run out of Zhenqi?" After he finished talking, he sat down and started to drink from his teacup. In the field, only 4 people looked at each other. More accurately, it was Yi Tang, Yi Hai, and Yi Xian who looked at each other. Only Yi Tang glanced at Yi Chen for some reason, as if he was telling him that he was going to get it later. The other 2 almost ignored Yi Chen. After all, they were fighting for the first place, and with Yi Chen's peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 cultivation, he would not be able to interfere. Yi Chen smiled indifferently and went back to his seat to rest. "Yi Xian, until now, you have only used 30% of your power. Am I right?" Yi Hai had already considered Yi Xian as his biggest opponent, so he tried to test her. Yi Xian flicked the hair in front of her forehead and said lightly, "Besides you 2, no one else has the right to make me use more than 60% of my power." "More than 60%? Don't flatter yourself. After I defeat Yi Chen, I will show you the Northern Snow Martial Academy's Blizzard Sword Art." Yi Tang sneered. Yi Xian turned around and walked back to her seat, leaving behind a sentence, "I have seen a lot of geniuses in the Emerald Martial Palace, such as the head disciple Young Master Emerald, the second disciple Absolute Palm Liu Wuxiang, and the third disciple Shapotian. Compared to them, you are just a mid-level genius. You do not have the power to challenge those with higher cultivation levels. So, against me, you will definitely lose." The finals had not started yet, but Yi Hai could already feel the tension in the air. He was breathing heavily. Up until now, he was not only fighting for the first place, he was also fighting for the sake of fighting. After all, they were all geniuses, but a winner had to be decided. 15 minutes passed quickly. Without the third elder's notice, Yi Chen and Yi Tang had already come to the center of the field and stood 10 meters away from each other. "Stop the useless struggle. You are definitely not my opponent. After I beat you, I will still have to beat Yi Xian and Yi Hai." Yi Tang could not wait to fight against Yi Xian. He was not interested in Yi Chen anymore, he just wanted to finish the battle as soon as possible. Yi Chen said, "Being impatient is the biggest taboo for a warrior. You have already lost. Cut the bullshit and lose." Yi Tang activated his Zhenqi. His white robe fluttered in the air even though there was no wind. A white cold air appeared around his body, causing the temperature to drop drastically. He stomped on the ground and jumped out like a bird. Countless hand blades were thrown towards Yi Chen. 1,000 mountains full of snow. This was a blade attack, but Yi Tang had turned it into a hand blade attack. Although it was not as powerful as before, it was more than enough to deal with warriors below the condensing reality realm. Shoo! Shoo! The air was sliced open instantly. Layers of white hand blades appeared, covering the entire field. Break! His power had been increased to more than 60%. Yi Chen did not back off, he threw out both of his fists continuously. It was like hundreds of arrows shooting out at the same time, like a raging river. It clashed violently against the countless hand blades. All of a sudden, the sound of air exploding could be heard everywhere. The explosions created a strong wind current in the middle of the field, which could easily blow away a fierce tiger. Chapter 43. Yi Tang's expression changed. "How is this possible? Although my hand blade's power is not even half of my blade's power, it is still not something a mortal realm warrior can handle." What he did not know was that Yi Chen's physical strength had already exceeded 12,000 pounds. 60% would be more than 7,000 pounds, which was equivalent to the power of 2 or 3 buffaloes running at full speed. Controlling crane capturing hand. Yi Tang's attack changed, his clothes fluttered in the wind. While he was flying, his right hand's 5 fingers were like iron hooks, aiming at Yi Chen's shoulder. At that moment, Yi Chen felt like he was being targeted by a ferocious beast. He knew that he could not let his opponent lock him down, otherwise, even if he did not get hurt, he would lose control. Shoo! Activating the Golden Swallow art, Yi Chen's body floated into the air, leaving only a faint shadow where he was standing. Yi Tang tore apart the shadow to vent his anger. He looked up, and suddenly a dot appeared in front of him. It was the sword light. The sharp sword light. It was almost in front of Yi Tang as soon as it appeared. Ah! Yi Tang did not expect his opponent to still have enough energy to fight back, and the first attack was so fast that he could not dodge it. Break it! Yi Tang yelled. His right hand was as white as jade, his 2 fingers clamped together, trying to stop Yi Chen's attack and break the great steel sword. Yi Chen sneered, "In your dreams." The great steel sword's momentum was unstable, like the moon in the water. The sword light spread out and pointed at Yi Chen a few times. Shoo! A bloody hole appeared on Yi Tang's finger, which was filled with zhenqi. Thin blood sputtered out, but it was completely shattered by the sword light, turning into nothingness. Tang Er's freezing ice finger was broken. Yi Baishan's face suddenly changed, he could not believe his eyes. Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing were also shocked. Although they knew that Yi Chen was very powerful, but how could he be this powerful? Was he really going to beat Yi Tang? Not good. Yi Tang took a few steps back and pulled out a treasured saber from his back. The saber was 4 feet and 1 inch long and 2 inches and 6 fen wide. Its blade was smooth and shiny, and its whole body was suffused with a chilling yin qi, which proved that this was not an ordinary saber used by ordinary people, but a rare saber, a saber for killing. In fact, this blade was called the Vibrant Snowblade in the North Snow Martial Academy, and only the inner disciples were allowed to use it. Great snowfall. As soon as the colorful snow saber appeared in his hand, Yi Tang's aura surged. With a wave of his hand, the saber lights that filled the sky rushed towards Yi Chen's position, as if the winter snow had arrived early. Yi Chen gripped his sword with both hands and swung it vigorously. All of the saber lights that were spreading over were shattered and could not advance an inch. This showed how fast and precise Yi Chen's sword swings were. Adding insult to injury, Yi Tang was unforgiving after gaining the upper hand. His saber light contained a threatening frost qi that easily froze the moisture in the air. It was as if he wanted to freeze the entire place. Crack, 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 crack. Just as Yi Chen was about to make a move, cold air suddenly rose from the ground. A thin layer of frost covered the ground, with Yi Tang as the center, forming a semicircle of snow. Retreat. Yi Chen took back his sword aura, tapped his feet on the ground, and his body flew backwards. Yi Chen, it is not bad for you to exchange so many attacks with me. Unfortunately, you are still going to lose. Proud Snow Frost. Yi Tang gripped his saber with both hands and swung it downwards. Chin. The colorful snow blade released a 5-meter-long saber light that sliced through the air, bringing with it an unstoppable aura. It seemed like it was going to cut Yi Chen in half in the next second. Chen watch out. Shen Yuqing was worried about his son, so he stood up and prepared to help. Yi Batian sneered and pressed his right hand in the air, blocking Shen Yuqing's movement, making it impossible for him to move. Sister, we are in the middle of the competition. Don't be presumptuous. Yi Tianhao couldn't take it anymore. Waves of qi exploded from his body, and he stepped forward with his right foot. The entire VIP stand was blown away and shattered into pieces. The battle was about to start. Guys, wait, the situation has changed. City Lord Lin hurriedly used his qi to protect himself and said to Yi Batian and the other two. Hearing this, the three's attention returned to the battlefield. Yi Tang's saber light cut the air into pieces, and the shockwave left a 3-inch deep mark on the ground. This time, Yi Chen is going to lose, and he might even die. Almost everyone was thinking the same thing. Facing this horrifying saber light, Yi Chen's body shook, and the blood in his body made a rumbling sound. His aura suddenly increased, like an ancient god. Destroy. Shouting, Yi Chen's body didn't move, but his left hand formed a fist and punched out. Crack, 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 crack. The saber light exploded into pieces in the air, and it didn't do anything. What is going on? How can he be so powerful? Yi Xian suddenly stood up and said in disbelief. Yi Hai's face was also very serious as he stared at Yi Chen. Yi Tang's eyes popped out, and his movements froze. Mountain collapse. Yi Chen's eyes were as sharp as swords. He leapt forward and arrived 3 steps away from Yi Tang. His great steel sword was placed on Yi Tang's neck. You lost. Yi Chen said lightly. Yi Tang came back to his senses, and he couldn't accept the reality in front of him. His eyes were bloodshot. Impossible, I didn't lose. Die. The colorful snow blade in his hand turned, and he was about to attack. Yi Chen was a little angry. He swung his left hand and slapped away the colorful snow blade in Yi Tang's hand. Then, he stepped forward and knocked away Yi Tang's body. Ret. Puking out a mouthful of blood, Yi Tang fell 10 steps away. Yi Chen won. He actually won. I can't believe that even Yi Tang, who had reached the condensing reality realm, couldn't compete with Yi Chen. How powerful is he? It seems like the first place is going to be very difficult. Indeed, Yi Tang is one of the top 2 geniuses of the Yi family, and he is also a disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy. His power is even more powerful than the older generation of early condensing reality realm warriors. But he still lost to Yi Chen. This is really unexpected. If Yi Chen also reached the condensing reality realm, how powerful would he be? He would definitely be able to defeat all the early condensing reality realm warriors. Even mid-condensing reality realm warriors might not be able to win against him. A cross-realm battle. This is the legendary cross-realm battle. So it is true. The whole place started to boil like boiling water. Seeing Yi Chen beat Yi Tang, no one would think that he did not have the right to be the champion of the family meeting. If there was, then that person must be crazy, or blind, and could not see the truth. Yi Chen still could not sit down. She remembered that a few months ago, Yi Chen was only a mortal realm stage 6 warrior. But now, he had the power to challenge her. It made her feel a little uncomfortable and depressed. She could not explain it with words. If she had to explain it, then it would be that the difference was too big. Bastard, all of you shut up. Hearing the crowd's discussion, Yi Batian let out a roar from the messy VIP seating. His violent chi spread out like a raging river. All of a sudden, the crowd was thrown into chaos. Yi Tianhao saw this and shouted angrily, Yi Batian, what are you doing? Chapter 44. Trying hard to suppress his anger, Yi Batian glared at Yi Chen and yelled at everyone on the field, it's a competition, why are you making so much noise? Quiet down. Hearing him, the whole field went silent. No one dared to provoke Yi Batian, who was in a rage. Not to mention the fact that he was an inner master of the Purple Sun Martial School, he was also a late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist. He was one of the most powerful people in the Yi family and even in the Luo city. In other words, Yi Batian could shake the entire Luo city with a single stomp. Yi Tianhao let out a sigh of relief and said to the servant next to him, bring another VIP seat here. Yes. The few servants left with their heads lowered. Mayor Lin saw the situation was a bit awkward. He smiled bitterly to Yi Tianhao and said, Leader Yi, I didn't expect your son to have hidden so much, it really surprised me. Chenna just came back a couple of days ago, I don't know much about his power. Yi Tianhao was full of pride, as if he had just eaten honey. On this true spirit continent, besides personal power, having a good younger generation was something that everyone dreamed of, especially for the big families or martial institutions, since the younger generation disciples were not talented enough. If the younger generation did not have enough talent, then the family would fall sooner or later. But if there were more geniuses in the younger generation, the whole family would continue to prosper forever, and could even lead the family to the next level. Before, Yi Tianhao had already given up on this idea, but now, it was rekindled, and it was getting more and more intense, making him more energetic. Yi Batian said in a gloomy tone, at such a young age, he is already so cunning. What will happen when he grows up? Yi Tianhao, you have taught your son well. Yi Tianhao sneered, winning and losing are normal for warriors. You can't just let your son win and my son lose, can you? To do such a dirty thing just to win, forgive me for being honest, he will never be able to achieve anything in the future. Let's wait and see. The two had been fighting against each other for a long time. Ever since they were young, they had never liked each other and would often fight to the death. Later, when Yi Tianhao became the leader of the Yi family and Yi Batian was promoted in the Purple Sun Martial School, the fight had finally calmed down a bit and was no longer as intense as before. On the judge's seat, the third elder was still in a daze for a long time. It wasn't until the elder next to him patted him that he came back to his senses and announced loudly, Yi Chen wins. The next battle, Yi Hai versus Yi Xian. Sitting down, the third elder sighed, "What an amazing junior. Yi Tianhao has given birth to a good son. Isn't that right?" Beating Yi Tang, who is at the early condensing reality realm, with only the peak of mortal realm stage 10, is even more difficult than a normal cross-realm battle. I really don't know how he did it. The second elder stared at Yi Chen, as if he was trying to see through him. The great elder, who was sitting in the middle, reminded the two of them, "It's fine to talk about it in front of me, but don't ever mention it to Yi Batian." "Of course we know that. The battle has started. I wonder if there will be any surprises after this." In the middle of the field, Yi Hai and Yi Xian tried their best to calm down. After a while, they both raised their heads and stared at each other. "Within 100 attacks, you will lose," Yi Xian said lightly with her hand on the hilt of her sword. Yi Hai laughed, "I didn't expect that I would be able to last more than 100 attacks from you. Not bad, but I want to last more than 300 attacks. What do you think? Try me then." Chin. Taking out her sword, Yi Xian's feet touched the ground. While she was flying, the long sword in her hand shone with starlight, covering all of Yi Hai's major meridians. "Good sword art, but it is not enough," Yi Hai said proudly. The blade on his back automatically came out of its scabbard and landed in his hand. If you looked closely, you would see that the blade was covered in blood, as if it had been soaked in human blood when it was made. Blood Blade 8. The blood-red blade light danced in the air, surrounding Yi Hai. From time to time, 1 or 2 blade lights would fly out and attack Yi Xian. Ding, 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 ding. Yi Xian was not Yi Tang. She had already stabilized her Zhenqi and made a huge step forward, reaching the peak of the early condensing reality realm. Her Zhenqi was rich and powerful. No matter how tight Yi Hai's defense was, no matter how strong his attacks were, he could not stop her from moving forward. The sword light penetrated into the blade light, and the clothes on Yi Hai's shoulder suddenly split open. "Damn." Yi Hai frowned. The moment he jumped back, he threw out a sword attack. Shoo. A blade light sliced through the air, flying towards Yi Xian. Yi Xian sneered. Her left hand was covered in a layer of colored glaze, and she shattered the blade light with one palm attack. At the same time, her right hand shook the long sword, and the sky was filled with starlight, dazzling Yi Hai's eyes. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 10 steps. Yi Hai backed out for a whole 10 steps before he could get rid of the power. He was a bit shocked. Yi Xian's power was even higher than he had expected. If it were not for the ace attacks that his master had taught him, he would not be able to compete with her. Even so, his chance of winning was less than 60%. There was no other way. Yi Hai took a deep breath, and his robe expanded. Broken Mountain River. He threw out a blade attack, and the air rippled like water. The heavy qi was like a mountain, pressing down on Yi Xian. The VIP seats had been changed, and Yi Tianhao's eyes brightened. That is the Broken Mountain Blade Art, the famous skill of the Broken Mountain Blade Art. No, it should be the simplified version of the Broken Mountain Blade Art. I wonder what Yi Xian can do. City Lord Lin nodded. The Broken Mountain Guest's Broken Mountain Blade technique is rare even in large sects. With one blade, he can even split a small mountain in half. Facing Yi Hai's sudden attack, Yi Xian's expression did not change. She switched the long sword to her left hand, and her right hand's index and middle fingers touched the blade. To be able to force me to use this skill, you are already very impressive. Shoo. As Yi Xian's fingers slid along the blade, a sharp starlight suddenly shot out and smashed onto Yi Hai's blade light. Then, the second, the third, boom, boom, boom. Like fireworks, Yi Hai's body had completely disappeared, and no one knew what had happened. The next second, the fireworks were blown away, and Yi Hai jumped out, laughing. That's the 108th attack already. Yi Xian said coldly, "No matter what the Broken Mountain Blade taught you, you are no match for me." What she had just performed was a low-rank Earth Realm sword art, the Star Sword spell. Of course, it was only the first half. The second half could only be trained by the core disciples. The reason why she was chosen was because she was talented enough, and she was considered one of the top geniuses in the Emerald Martial Palace. Otherwise, even an inner disciple would not be able to learn it. Words are no proof. Take my broken sun and moon, Yi Hai shouted, and his blood-red long blade was thrown out with an aura that could cover the sun. Yi Xian frowned, and the speed of her fingers slid twice as fast. Countless starlight turned into sharp blades and shot out like lightning. Yi Hai's cultivation was lower than Yi Xian's after all, and his blade art was not as good as Yi Xian's as well. After a while, his blade stopped moving, and his zhenqi was a little messed up. He was hit in the chest by a starlight, and he puked out a mouthful of blood. Outside of the stage, Yi Chen was a little surprised. Yi Xian's power was indeed immeasurable, and she still had some power left. No wonder she looked so arrogant. After all, she had a trump card. Chapter 45. Yi Hai lost. It seems like only that Yi Chen can compete with Yi Xian among the younger generation. To be honest, I don't think Yi Chen will win. It is not because he is not as powerful as Yi Xian, but because he cannot attack from afar. You saw Yi Xian's sword art just now, it was endless, he could not even get close to her. You are right, but Yi Chen might still have some hidden cards. Let's just keep watching. Yeah, it is still too early to tell. All of the important people from the Luo city who came to watch the battle started to discuss among themselves. On the judge's seat, the third master nodded with approval. With this girl in the Yi family, even if they could not make it to the next level, they would not fall. Yi Xian won. The last battle will be the finals. The winner will get a low-rank storage ring, 100 low-rank soulstones, and 10,000 gold. Yi Xian, Yi Chen, I hope you two will try your best in the upcoming battles. Of course, the second and third place will not get a low-rank storage ring, but the soulstones and gold will be the same. Let's take a break for 15 minutes. 100 low-rank soulstones, how could it be so little? Yi Chen was a bit confused. In fact, Yi Chen thought that since the deceased senior had left behind more than 10,000 low-rank soulstones, as one of the top 8 families, the Yi family must have even more. Indeed, the Yi family's low-rank soulstones were counted in the tens of thousands, but there were more than 600 warriors in the Yi family, and more than 300 condensing reality realm warriors. Even if each of them only used 100 low-rank soulstones per year, it would still cost them 30,000 soulstones, which was a huge amount, enough to make a normal family go bankrupt in a few years. Moreover, an early condensing reality realm warrior's consumption rate was 1 soulstone every 5 days, which meant that they would only need 70 soulstones a year. Even if they had more, they would only be used for other purposes, and would no longer be useful for their own cultivation. Therefore, the reward of 100 low-rank soulstones was made after careful consideration. As for the 10,000 taels of gold, it wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. In Yi Chen's memory, his father, Yi Tianhao, had no more than 100,000 taels of gold. Of course, as the head of the Yi family, he didn't need to spend his own money. Everything was covered by the Yi family, such as buying medicinal pellets, weapons, or secret manuals. However, if there were other private matters, he would have to pay for them himself. Off the field, Yi Xian took out a low-rank soulstone and tried to recover her lost zhenqi. As her zhenqi was getting stronger and stronger, Yi Xian looked at Yi Chen and thought to herself, no matter how powerful you have become, I will still defeat you. The disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace are not allowed to lose, in the past, present, or future. Dang! The bronze bell for the finals was rung. The third elder let out a long breath and shouted, "Time's up. Let the competition begin." Yi Xian put away the soul stones and walked to the center of the field step by step. She stood 10 meters away from Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked at Yi Xian and said, "I haven't seen you for a few months. I didn't expect you to have improved so much. You have reached the peak of the early condensing reality realm." The last time they met, Yi Xian was at the same level as Yi Tang, her zhenqi had not stabilized yet. But after a few months, everything had changed. My training speed should be one of the best in the Sky Cloud Martial School, but in the Emerald Martial Palace, it is nothing. There are a lot of people who have improved faster than me. Yi Xian used her words to attack Yi Chen's confidence. Yi Chen smiled carelessly and said, "Let's begin. Your sword art is not bad, I wonder how it would compare to mine. Just as she finished talking, Yi Xian's body flashed and appeared 5 steps away from Yi Chen like a wisp of smoke. The long sword in her hand casually shook and started to vibrate violently. The tip of the sword exploded with bright sword light that looked like fireworks, which covered the area in front of Yi Chen. Great! Yi Xian's sword art was very good, but it had ignited Yi Chen's fighting spirit. He took out his great steel sword and attacked back at an even faster speed. Within a second, he had stabbed out 36 times. Puff, 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 puff. The tips of the 2 swords clashed together, creating bright sparks that covered both of their bodies. Only sparks could be seen flying everywhere. Yi Xian had been famous for her sword art since 3 years ago. In the 3 years since she joined the Emerald Martial Palace, her sword art had improved by leaps and bounds. Right now, when she used all of her power, it was impossible for the naked eye to see the sword's trajectory. It was like lightning in the sky, or stars in the night sky, flashing and dancing. But Yi Chen did not have such great talent before, and was called trash by others. Ever since he had merged with the other Yi Chen's soul, his comprehension ability had increased tremendously. No matter what kind of martial art he learned, he would be able to reach the highest level in a short period of time. He was like a monster. With a sword in his hand, Yi Chen performed all of the lone peak of 13 swords. His sword art was unconstrained and unconstrained, without any trace. It was also like an antelope's horn. With one stroke of his sword, he was able to block out 3 of his opponent's sword attacks. The 2 fought from the center of the arena to the outside of the arena, and from the outside of the arena to the podium. The intense sword art shocked the younger generation of the Yi family. They all stared at the fight without blinking their eyes, afraid that they would miss the most exciting scene. On the VIP seats, all of the important people gasped. This is unbelievable. Are they still 14 or 15 years old? They are even better than some of the older generation who have been practicing sword arts for a long time. The student has surpassed the master. The future is indeed the world of the young. To be able to watch this battle, this trip was not in vain. The discussions of the crowd did not affect the two. Instead, the battle was getting more and more intense. The peak of perfection. With his powerful strength, Yi Chen was not afraid of his opponent's Zhenqi attack at all. He stabbed out with his sword, as if he was standing on top of a mountain. Yi Xian's eyes were wide open. The long sword in her hand turned into a glazed color. She threw out a sword attack and yelled in a low voice, "Break! Crack!" The great steel sword in Yi Chen's hand made a noise. It was a sign that it was about to break. But it was no wonder. Yi Xian's sword was the famous glazed sword in the Emerald Martial Palace, while Yi Chen's was just a normal great steel sword. The two were not even on the same level. Naturally, it would not last for long. Pushing his qi to its limit, Yi Chen suddenly let go of the great steel sword in his right hand. He drew a circle in the air and fiercely slammed out. Shoo 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 shoo, the great steel sword turned into thousands of pieces, flying towards Yi Xian like a swarm of locusts. So cunning. But it doesn't work on me. Being shocked by Yi Chen's strange attack, Yi Xian was enraged. She also drew a circle in front of her with her left hand and spread out a layer of glazed Zhenqi shield, blocking out all of the incoming fragments. Ha ha ha. Take my punch. After losing his long sword, Yi Chen's aura did not decrease. Instead, it increased. The qi and blood in his body started to flow. The second he rushed out, he threw out a punch. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The Zhenqi shield was broken. Yi Xian used the short time to fly backwards. She switched the sword to her left hand and raised her right hand's index and middle fingers. She then quickly touched the sword. It is the Star Sword spell. This time, Yi Chen is in trouble. But it seems like Yi Xian has indirectly proved that her sword art is not as good as Yi Chen's. So what? Battles between warriors only care about the result, not the process. You are right. While the crowd was shouting, beams of sharp starlight shot out one after another, blocking all of Yi Chen's escape routes. Other than taking it head-on, there was no other way for him to escape. Yi Chen did not panic. His body started to shine with a jade-like light. He yelled, Let's see if your spear or my shield is stronger. Chapter 46. Boom. The first ray of starlight was blown away by Yi Chen's punch, then the second, the third. In the end, Yi Chen's punching speed could no longer keep up with the number of starlights. His upper body was hit a few times, making a loud noise like metal hitting metal. When they looked again, Yi Chen's body was unharmed except for a few holes in his clothes. His tough skin was covered with a layer of jade light, which was the sign of the completion of the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell. He was only one step away from the fourth spell, Broken Jade Rebirth. What kind of defensive martial art is that? It can block the attacks of the Point Star Sword spell. This is too shocking. What other tricks does this guy have up his sleeves? Every time he is in a critical moment, he can always turn the tables. I think Yi Xian is in danger as well. This guy is too scary, he keeps on playing all kinds of tricks, no one knows what he is doing. Hearing the discussions of the big shots around him, Yi Tianhao had the same feeling. Thinking back, Yi Chen first beat Yi Feng with one punch, then beat Yi Jun with ease, then beat Yi Tang with an unexpected win, and now he was fighting with Yi Xian. It was so surprising that he was a bit numb to it. He looked at Shen Yuqing, and the two of them looked at each other. Yi Batian was also numb. He wanted to see the scene of Yi Chen's defeat, but who would have thought that even Yi Xian could not beat him? Didn't that mean that Tang was no match for Yi Chen? This is ridiculous. How did this brat get so powerful? After a few heavy breaths, Yi Batian stared down at the stage. On the stage, Yi Xian bit her lips and cursed, "Let's see how many attacks you can block." Gathering all of her Zhen Qi on her finger, Yi Xian rubbed her finger on the crystal sword. When the Zhen Qi and the crystal sword rubbed against each other, a miraculous change occurred. It was as if the Zhen Qi and the crystal sword had merged together, forming the unbreakable starlight blades. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Some of the starlight blades lost their aim and left thousands of holes in the ground. It was a tragic sight to behold. Some of the spectators even had their weapons cut in half, and they jumped away in horror. What a terrifying force. How did that Yi Chen block it? Only now did everyone deeply understand the power of the Point Star Sword art. It was absolutely not something an ordinary person could block. The clothes on Yi Chen's upper body burst open, revealing his slightly tender but abnormally strong muscles. Several starlight blades shot over, and the moment they were just a hair's breadth away from his skin, the jade-like light on the surface of his skin immediately erupted with an astonishing power, easily shattering the external attacks. Roar! Yi Chen's long hair danced in the wind as he dashed towards Yi Xian with a mountain-like pressure and threw out a punch. Yi Xian was a little annoyed. Yi Chen's power was slowly shattering her confidence. She doubted if she could take that punch, or else she wouldn't be thinking about it. "I want to see if your fist is harder or if my glazed sword is sharper." Regaining her confidence, Yi Xian yelled and switched the long sword back to her right hand. With her usual arrogance, she thrust the sword straight towards Yi Chen's fist. Shoo! The tip of the sword and the fist made contact, sparks were ignited. It was as if the fist was not made of flesh and blood, but made of the hardest metal. The glazed sword was bent by the powerful force, but it soon straightened back into a straight line without any signs of breaking. However, the rebound force from the sword had also blown Yi Xian back, and blood dripped out from the corner of her mouth. Yi Chen's aura was even more intense. He chased after her and threw out another punch. Pooh! This time, Yi Xian finally could not handle the rebound force of her Zhen Qi. The long sword in her hand flew out of her hand, and her face was pale white. Her eyes lost their luster. The training ground was quiet for a second, and then a huge uproar broke out. So many twists and turns. I cannot believe that Yi Chen would be the champion. Who would have thought this would happen? If I knew this would happen, I would have bet on Yi Chen to win. 5 silvers would have been 10 times better. Damn, I bet 10 silvers on Yi Tang. That's a month's worth of my salary. After the competition, the ones who were the most worried were not the others, but the servants of the Yi family. They had secretly set up a gambling house, preparing to make a fortune from it. However, once the result was out, most of the people were shocked and regretful. Only the people behind the gambling house were ecstatic. This time, they had made 5 times or even 10 times more than usual. It would be enough for them to live a happy life for a long time. The third elder was the first to come back to his senses. He cleared his throat and said loudly, "The champion is Yi Chen. Now, we will compete for the second and the third place." Hearing this, the servants who had lost all their money just remembered that they had also bet on the second and third place. They might be able to get back some of their money. As for making money, there was no need to think about it. It was all their fault for having such bad taste. Yi Hai easily beat Yi Tang, who had lost his confidence, and became the third place, while Yi Xian naturally became the second place. The champion was, of course, Yi Chen, who had made it through all the obstacles in his way. At the same time, he was also the most famous person in the Yi family. When it was time to give out the rewards, the third elder smiled at Yi Chen and said, "Keep up the good work, don't get too full of yourself." Yi Chen said, "I will, third elder." Good, with you geniuses in the Yi family, we, the older generation, can finally relax. With the low-rank storage ring in his hand, Yi Chen immediately put it on his finger and threw in 100 low-rank soulstones and 10,000 gold notes. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen turned his head and realized that Yi Xian was looking at him. "Next time we meet, I will beat you." Yi Xian had already gotten over the shock of losing. What she could not accept was that she had lost her confidence at such a critical moment. It was something she could not accept. Yi Chen did not mind, he said, "Then you need to pick up your pace, I have already started." Huh. Yi Xian sneered and did not say anything else. "Haha, Yi Chen, you are also my goal, don't be too weak." Among the contestants, Yi Hai was just like his name, he had a heart as big as the ocean. He was also more accepting of losing than the others, so he started to greet Yi Chen. Yi Chen quite liked Yi Hai. "After this family gathering, are you still going to travel the world with your teacher?" Yi Hai nodded heavily. "Of course, traveling the world is my dream, and I will never give up. This time, my teacher said that he will take me to the most dangerous place in the Black Dragon Empire, so that I can gain some experience. However, after today, I think we will only see each other again at the end of next year. I am looking forward to it." "Me too, I wish you the best of luck." "Thank you for your kind words. Let's go out for a drink later. I guess you haven't had a drink yet." "I have had a little, I believe I can handle it." After the award ceremony, Yi Tianhao stood up in high spirits. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you all for coming to the annual family gathering of the Yi family. Next is the banquet, I hope everyone can come." "Alright, it would be a waste if we don't eat. I am just afraid that the leader of the Yi family would feel bad." Someone joked. Yi Tianhao laughed. "Of course not, everyone, eat as much as you want. I am very happy today." When everyone was walking towards the banquet hall, 2 people in the corner of the field were especially eye-catching. "Elder Hai, how is this guy?" "Very powerful, but still not as powerful as the geniuses of our Hai family, unless he can reach the condensing reality realm." Hearing him, that person sighed. "These years, there are so many geniuses in the Windy Nation. I wonder what kind of sparks they will create in the future. Maybe they can leave the Windy Nation and make a name for themselves in the whole South Rudra region. It will be difficult. Our Windy Nation is the weakest in the whole South Rudra region, and our geniuses are not as powerful as the other countries. If we can have a leader, then we might have some hope." Chapter 47. The banquet only ended in the evening. Most of the guests were drunk to the point that their faces were red and their eyes were hazy. On the other hand, Yi Chen, Yi Hai, and a few other disciples of the Yi family were sitting at the same table, chatting while eating, drinking, and forming a preliminary friendship. At this time, Yi Tianhao suddenly called Yi Chen over. "Chen, this is the chief escort of the Riding Wind Escort Agency, Uncle Shu Tai, and this is his second daughter, Shu Mai." Yi Tianhao pulled Yi Chen aside and introduced them with a smile on his face. "Hello, Uncle Shu." Yi Chen sized up the two. Shu Tai was a burly man in his 40s, wearing the chief escort's uniform, looking majestic. His second daughter, Shu Mai, was no more than 16 years old, wearing a red outfit. Her figure was graceful, her face was delicate, and there was a sense of heroism in her charm. At this time, when she saw Yi Chen looking at her, a trace of shyness could be seen on her face. Shu Tai was also sizing up Yi Chen. After a while, he laughed and said, as expected, heroes come from the youth. At such a young age, you already have a decisive and murderous aura. You are not a fish in a pond. These words were not nonsense. Shu Tai had roamed the pugilistic world for so many years, he had seen all kinds of people. He could see the difference of some peerless characters when they were young. Although Yi Chen looked delicate and handsome, like a scholar, there was a faint cold aura between his brows that could not be underestimated. Yi Chen said modestly, "Uncle Shu, you flatter me." Shu Tai shook his head. "Your Uncle Shu is a boorish man. I don't know what modesty is. To me, modesty is hypocrisy. No, I like you, and my daughter also likes you. Why don't we find some time to get to know each other?" Although Yi Tianhao knew that Shu Tai's personality was like this, he was still speechless. However, he wanted to see how Yi Chen would answer. "Uncle Shu, since you're so straightforward, then I'll also say it clearly. Before I reach my father's strength, Yi Chen will not consider love affairs," Yi Chen said seriously. After being stunned for a moment, Shu Tai helplessly said, "It seems like my daughter is unlucky. Fine, you will definitely become a true dragon in the future. My will not be able to protect you." Yi Tianhao was very satisfied with Yi Chen's ambition, but he scolded, "Nonsense, a real man is never afraid of love." He then turned to Shu Tai and said, "Brother Shu, let them settle their own matters. We can't interfere even if we want to. Don't you agree?" Shu Tai nodded. "That's true. Since that's the case, we'll take our leave first. We'll meet again in the future. My let's go." Yi Tianhao urged him to stay. "Brother Shu, you're leaving so soon. It's still early." "I won't stay. My wife made me some soup at home." Shu Tai waved his hand and started to leave. Shu Mai followed closely behind him. Waiting until the two were far away, Yi Tianhao turned around and stared at Yi Chen, which made the latter's hair stand on end. After a while, Yi Tianhao said, "You're quite tired from today's competition. Go back and rest." "Yeah, I'll say goodbye to Yi Hai and the others." Looking at Yi Chen's back, a smile appeared on Yi Tianhao's face. God had indeed given him a surprise, and it was in a situation where he did not have much hope. Shen Yuqing walked over and said, "Tianhao, what's wrong?" Yi Tianhao laughed. "What do you think Chen will be able to reach in the future? Our Luo city has not had an astral-reaching realm warrior for more than 100 years. You are quite daring. But our Chen is indeed different from before. Have you noticed? It seems like I have noticed something, but it seems like I haven't seen anything. Who cares? As long as he is our Chen it will be fine." In the dead of the night, a crescent moon hung above the trees. The light in Yi Chen's room was still on, illuminating the screen window. On the clean and spacious bed, Yi Chen sat in the middle of the room with his legs crossed, mist rising from the top of his head. According to Yi Chen's estimation, he would only be able to step into the condensing reality realm after 7 days. But after the few battles today, his qi had become even more condensed, showing signs of liquefaction. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by, and Yi Chen did not want to miss it. Therefore, once he got back to his room, he immediately cleared away all distracting thoughts and focused on breaking through. As his qi continued to circulate and compress, the liquefied qi in Yi Chen's dantian gradually increased. Before, it was just a strand, but now it was like a ribbon, clearly separated from his qi. 2 hours. 4 hours. 10 hours. The sky gradually brightened. The servants of the Yi family all woke up and started their daily work. No one knew how much time had passed. The screen window in Yi Chen's room was shaking, making a cracking sound, as if it was being blown by a strong wind. Inside the room, with Yi Chen as the center, the invisible airflow formed a funnel shape, and all the lighter objects rose up and floated in the air. Whoosh! A strange vibration spread out from Yi Chen's dantian, and the floating objects immediately fell back down, making a series of messy noises. Finally, the condensing reality realm. Slowly letting out a deep breath, Yi Chen opened his eyes. Bright light flashed in the air like lightning. After a long while, the light disappeared, and a confident smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. In fact, before last night, he did not even have a 50% chance of breaking through to the condensing reality realm, maybe only 30 to 40%. After all, it was not easy to liquefy qi into Jin qi, it needed a long time to compress and compress it. Otherwise, there would not be so many people stuck at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 for half a year, and some even took a year to break through. Even the top outer disciple, Wu Zhongming, took more than half a year to break through and become an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. As for geniuses like Zhong Haoren, who managed to break through to the condensing reality realm in just 1 or 2 months, it was rare to find one in 10,000. In other words, only warriors who reached the condensing reality realm could be considered as real warriors. Before reaching the condensing reality realm, they were at the bottom of the true spirit continent, just like apprentices. However, once they reached the condensing reality realm, their power would not just increase by a few times, but by a few times, and they would be able to kill people from 10 steps away. Right now, if Yi Chen and Yi Xian were to fight, he was confident that he would be able to defeat her within a few attacks, and it would be effortless. Maybe I should take a look at the Jin Qi first. Yi Chen mumbled to himself, as he focused his mind on his dantian. The huge Jin Qi whirlpool had disappeared, and was replaced by a whirlpool of Jin Qi. No matter in terms of quality or quantity, it was a level higher than Qi. It spun like a nebula in the sky, or a whirlpool in the water, full of power. Pushing the pure Yuan art with all his might, Yi Chen's robe began to expand. Ha! He threw out a punch, and the window 10 steps away suddenly shattered into thousands of pieces, shooting everywhere. A strong wind blew all the way into the yard. From today onwards, I can start training the Tyrant Fist. I wonder how powerful it is. Since he did not feel tired, Yi Chen did not sleep anymore. He got up and washed up, then opened the door and walked out. Chapter 48. In Luoyang City, if one were to ask which mansion was the largest, it would definitely be the Yi family. The Yi family, which occupied 1,000 acres of land, was 3 times larger than the city lord's mansion. Inside, there were pavilions, small bridges, flowing streams, bamboo forests, and a sea of trees. It was like a miniature version of Luoyang City. After passing through a few corridors and a 10 feet long white jade bridge, a huge training field appeared in front of Yi Chen's eyes. The martial arts field was quite lively. Those warriors of the Yi family who did not need to work and only needed to practice their martial arts were all diligently practicing. They were either pondering on their own, consulting others, or fighting in pairs, honing their skills. It was a scene that was in full swing. Greetings, young Master Chen. Outside the field, 5 middle-aged men and women greeted Yi Chen respectfully. Yi Chen nodded. Is it your turn to teach martial skills today? These 5 people were the martial skill teachers of the Yi family. The Yi family claimed to have more than 300 warriors who were above the condensing reality realm. 2/3 of them were the direct family members, and the rest were warriors who did not have the same surname as the Yi family. According to their cultivation level, their positions were also different. For example, the clasping Yuan realm warriors would be the external elders of the Yi family, the late condensing reality realm warriors would be the deacons, and the mid-condensing reality realm warriors would be the martial skill teachers, just like these 5 people in front of Yi Chen. The early condensing reality realm warriors would be the apprentice teachers, who did not have the right to teach directly. Yes, the training field has 3 shifts every 3 days. Today is our turn. The middle-aged woman on the left answered. I was just passing by. You guys go ahead. Yi Chen waved his hand and walked away. In the middle, a middle-aged scholar in a grey robe sighed. Young Master Chen has reached the condensing reality realm. Even you and I might not be able to beat him. Geniuses can break the rules easily. How can we compare? All right, stop complaining. One day, when we reach the clasping Yuan realm, we will be able to become the external elders of the Yi family. Then we will be able to live a peaceful life. You are right. The training field was 400 meters away from the dining hall. After a while, Yi Chen finally walked to the entrance of the dining hall unhurriedly. When Yi Chen walked in, some of the people were already having breakfast. "Chenna, you're up so early." Yi Tianhao was a busy man, so he always got up early. Yi Chen said, "I didn't sleep yesterday. I've been cultivating until now." A hint of surprise flashed through Yi Tianhao's eyes. "You have reached the condensing reality realm?" "I just broke through." He really broke through? Yi Tianhao only said it subconsciously. He didn't expect Yi Chen's answer to be so certain. For a moment, he was stunned. Then, he was overjoyed. If the previous Yi Chen could only be considered a fighting genius, and his training wasn't eye-catching, then the current Yi Chen was a true genius. No one could take away the glory that belonged to him, and he was now on par with Yi Xian, Yi Tang, and the others. "Let me have a look." Yi Tianhao put his hand on Yi Chen's shoulder. Although it was easy to tell Yi Chen's cultivation level from the surface, under some special circumstances, warriors at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 would also emit a slight Qi vibration, which could easily be mistaken for warriors who had just reached the condensing reality realm. When the clasping Yuan realm Qi entered Yi Chen's body, it immediately received a strong counterattack. Yi Tianhao was afraid of hurting Yi Chen, so he hurriedly cut off the Qi and let go of his hand. "You are indeed at the early condensing reality realm, and your Qi is quite stable. Just one more step and you will reach the peak of the early condensing reality realm." Yi Tianhao couldn't believe it. Yi Chen was also not sure. He guessed, could it be the effect of the pure Yuan art? Yi Tianhao nodded. "It should be. There are not many people like you who have trained the pure Yuan art to the highest level. The Qi produced by the pure Yuan art is extremely pure. Once it is liquefied into Qi, your foundation will be much more stable than most people, and you won't need to spend too much time to consolidate it." "That's not bad, it saves me a lot of hard work," Yi Chen thought. "All right, let's have breakfast first. I will tell your mother when I get back, she will be very happy." Yi Tianhao was already full. He was so happy that he started eating with Yi Chen, chatting as they ate. Soon, Yi Hai, Yi Xian and the others arrived. When they saw Yi Chen, they didn't pay much attention at first, but when they took a closer look, they immediately realized that he had reached the condensing reality realm. They were all shocked. Yi Tianhao saw that it was getting late. He said to Yi Chen, "Take your time, I will leave now." "Yes, father." After Yi Tianhao left, Yi Hai walked over and said, "Yi Chen, have you reached the condensing reality realm?" Yi Chen laughed. "Why don't you try and find out? Come on." Yi Hai got into a fighting stance. Standing up, Yi Chen said, "One punch is enough, come on." "Ha." Yi Hai did not dare to underestimate Yi Chen. He threw out a punch filled with Qi. The air started to ripple and spread out. Yi Chen did not move his body. He threw out a punch as well. Boom. The air was torn apart, and the two fists collided, producing a crackling sound. "No, you are too abnormal. You just broke through and your Qi is already so stable." Yi Hai took 10 steps back. He had a bitter smile on his face. Yi Chen sat back on the chair. "Let's have breakfast together." The two sat face to face, without any pretense. Yi Xian, who was not far from them, had a depressed look on her face. She thought that once she reached the mid-condensing reality realm, she would be able to suppress Yi Chen, but he had already reached the early condensing reality realm, and his Qi was so stable, it would be impossible for her to win against him now, even if she reached the mid-condensing reality realm. "Yi Chen, I forgot to tell you, Sister Xueyan has already reached the late condensing reality realm." Yi Xian did not want to admit defeat in front of Yi Chen, so she mentioned Ji Xueyan to hurt him. Yi Chen said casually, "She is not my goal. My first goal is to dominate the younger generation of the Windy Nation. As for the second goal, I have not thought about it yet." Yi Xian heard him and said scornfully, "In your dreams, there are so many powerful young warriors in the Windy Nation, not to mention the famous 4 young masters. Even our Emerald Martial Palace's inner disciples could easily suppress you. Of course, you might think that I am just bragging, but you just have to go back and ask your senior brothers and sisters, in the martial world, who has never been bullied by our Emerald Martial Palace's disciples." "Yi Xian, I don't like what you just said. You are indeed a disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, but first of all, You are a direct disciple of the Yi family. How can you always use outsiders to attack your own people? Yi Hai did not like Yi Xian's attitude. He put down his chopsticks and said. Yi Xian sneered, I just don't like him. Yi Hai said straightforwardly, I think you just can't accept the fact that you lost. That's right, before, Yi Chen was just a normal talent, he could not compete with you at all, you never thought that you would lose to him, so when Yi Chen showed that he was way more powerful than you, it made you feel uncomfortable, am I right? Don't be too happy yet, just because he is more powerful now does not mean that he will continue to be like this in the future. The Emerald Martial Palace is the top martial institution in the Windy Nation, all the disciples they raise are the best. Yi Xian was dazed by Yi Hai's words, she said excitedly. Yi Xian is right, you two are like frogs at the bottom of a well. The North Snow Martial Academy and the Emerald Martial Palace are rank 7 martial institutions, their power is not something you can imagine. Just you wait, in 1 year, I will definitely beat you too. Yi Tang had arrived at the dining room. Yi Chen sneered in his mind, although the two of them were quite talented, their temperaments were a lot worse. They were fine when everything went smoothly for them, but once they encountered some kind of setback, they would be even worse than normal people. Plus, they liked to dwell on something and never let it go, which eventually led to a mental imbalance. To put it simply, they were blinded. There was no need to argue with them, Yi Chen said lightly, everything needs to be proven with your actions, you can just say whatever you want. Alright, don't disturb my breakfast. Chapter 49. After breakfast, Yi Chen and Yi Hai went to the famous antique street in Luo City. The history of the antique street was almost as long as Luo City. The buildings were also the oldest, but the owners of the shops had changed a lot. Of course, most of them were inherited by their fathers, generation after generation. Walking on the street, Yi Chen was overwhelmed by the variety of goods in the shops. Yi Hai said, the antique street is usually full of opportunities. There was once a man who bought an inconspicuous top-rank soul stone with 10 silvers and sold it to a clasping Yuan realm warrior. He made more than 2 million silvers and never had to worry about food or clothing for the rest of his life. Yi Chen smiled. He knew about this as well. Soul stones were divided into 4 ranks, low rank, mid-rank, top rank, and extreme rank. The difference between each rank was huge. Normally, a mid-rank soulstone could be exchanged for 50 low-rank soulstones, and a top-rank soulstone could be exchanged for 50 mid-rank soulstones. In other words, a top-rank soulstone could be exchanged for 2,500 low-rank soulstones, which was 250 silvers. It was enough for a normal person to live a peaceful life for 10 lifetimes. Let's go to the 9 Cauldron Pavilion. Yi Hai pointed at the antique building 20 steps away. Yi Chen nodded. The 9 Cauldron Pavilion was a 1,000-year-old shop on the antique street. It had the most connections. In the middle of the lobby, there was a bronze cauldron. The leader of the Yi family wanted to buy it, but was rejected. It was said that the 9 Cauldron Pavilion had a very powerful background. Even the Yi family had to think twice before making a move on it. As they crossed the threshold, no one came to greet them. They were all busy with their own business. Yi Chen and Yi Hai did not care and walked straight in. The first thing they saw was a huge bronze cauldron that was as tall as 3 people. It was cyan with a hint of black, perfectly round shape. There were many different ancient characters carved on its surface. It was supported by 9 legs, which looked very stable. It looked like it could hold up the sky and bring great shock to people's souls. Yi Chen took a deep breath. The last time he came here was 4 years ago. At that time, he was not very sensible. When he saw the 9-legged bronze cauldron, he did not feel much. He only felt that it was very imposing. Now that he saw it, he felt as if his soul was trembling, and his lively Zhen Qi was showing signs of stagnation. Turning his head to look at Yi Hai, Yi Chen saw that Yi Hai was unmoved. Yi Chen felt strange, but he didn't say anything. Let's go to the 2nd floor. The 1st floor is filled with small toys, Yi Chen suggested after casually looking around and seeing that there were no antiques that caught his eye. Yes, the antiques on the 1st floor are no different from other antique shops. The two of them walked side by side and arrived at the quaint and elegant second floor. Compared to the first floor, there were very few people on the second floor. Including the shop assistants who were waiting at the side, there were only 15 to 16 people. It seemed extremely empty. However, those who could come to the second floor were all rich. After all, even the most common antique on the second floor cost nearly 1,000 taels of silver to buy. As for whether it was a profit or a loss, it all depended on one's luck. TSK, these stone figurines have at least a few hundred years of history. Yi Hai was attracted by the stone figurines that were as tall as a person and were covered in cracks. Yi Chen looked at them and lost interest. He separated from Yi Hai and walked to the other side. Right then, there were already people who had chosen their favorite antiques. However, it was this antique that surprised Yi Chen. "Hey, tell your shopkeeper that I want this wooden shelf. No matter how much it costs, it's not a problem." The person who spoke was a fat man with a rich face. He was wearing extravagant clothes and all 10 of his fingers were covered with rings. He looked like a nouveau riche who had just made a fortune. He seemed to be impatient. The shop assistant was depressed. "Why did you want the wooden shelf that displayed the antiques? Aren't you deliberately making things difficult for me?" He smiled and said, "Okay, I'll go and ask. Please wait a moment. Go and come back quickly." The fat rich man waved his hand and stared at the wooden shelf. He was afraid that it would run away. Yi Chen felt that it was funny. However, he, who was always calm, started to think about it again. He could not judge a book by its cover. This wooden shelf might have some tricks up its sleeves. After thinking about it, he focused on the wooden shelf and released his soul power. Buzz! There seemed to be an invisible ripple in the air, slowly seeping into the wooden shelf and searching carefully. As long as there was something special, Yi Chen would be able to sense it. Hey! This wooden frame actually contains a spirit stone, and the yuan qi contained in it is dozens of times that of a low-grade spirit stone. So, it must be a mid-grade spirit stone, which is equivalent to 50,000 silvers. But how did this fatty sense it? Or maybe he just wanted this wooden frame and had no other intentions? Chen Fan wondered. Yi Chen was shocked. However, a mere 50,000 silvers was not worth his attention. With his current power, it was easy to earn money. Of course, it was even easier to spend money. The shopkeeper of the 9-tripod pavilion hurried up and said to the fat rich man with a smile, "Sir, are you sure you want this wooden shelf?" The fat rich man rolled his eyes. "Name your price." The shopkeeper raised one finger, 10,000 silvers. "All right, very cheap. My father-in-law should like this old wooden shelf a lot." The fat rich man did not even frown as he took out 1,000 gold note from his storage ring. "As long as he likes it. Xiao Li, hurry up and help the customer clean the wooden shelf." The shopkeeper took the gold note and said to the worker on the side. Yi Chen was speechless. If what the fat rich man said was true, then he really did not see anything special about this wooden shelf, and was only using it to please his father-in-law. Moreover, the shopkeeper did not know where he got this wooden shelf from, and used it as a decoration on the second floor. Therefore, he did not lose anything. It seemed like there were too many strange things happening in the 9-tripod pavilion. Shaking his head, Yi Chen walked past them. There were too many antiques on the second floor. There was a half-bronze mirror covered in rust, a black vase, and some cloth from an unknown era. There were even more broken armors and weapons, such as chainmail, steel armor, 7 exquisite armors, long sabers, broken spears, broken swords, bent iron rods, meteor hammers without chains, and so on. Releasing his soul power, Yi Chen looked through them one by one. His eyes were as calm as water. Finally, the only thing that caught his eye was that meteor hammer. If it could be restored to its original form, its value would not be lower than the great blade in Yi Chen's storage ring, and it might even be more valuable. Unfortunately, the broken meteor hammer had lost its sharpness, and after thousands of years of erosion, it had lost all of its spirit qi. If he took it back, it could only be used as a decoration or an antique, and could not be used. This was something that Yi Chen could not accept. Putting down the meteor hammer, Yi Chen was about to leave. Suddenly, his eyes fixed on a broken sword in the gap between the wooden shelf and the wall. This broken sword only had a hilt and a small part of the blade. Its surface was dull and inconspicuous. Who knew how many years it had been hidden here without anyone noticing it? Reaching out his hand to pick up the broken sword, Yi Chen observed it for a while, and then pushed his soul power into it. Ha 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 ha, a desolate and vast laughter rushed into Yi Chen's mind. All of a sudden, Yi Chen felt like he had come back to the ancient times, where the world was chaotic, and only the laughter could be heard. What is going on? Yi Chen cut off his soul power, and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The ability to use soul power to detect objects was something that Yi Chen had discovered not long ago. Different from soul power could detect deeper than the surface. Otherwise, he would not have been able to detect the mid-rank soul stones in the wooden shelf. Chapter 50. Hey, I want this sword. How much is it? Yi Chen didn't put it back. Instead, he asked the shop assistant who was waiting on the side. The shop assistant glanced at the broken sword. The owner said that all these ancient weapons are 20,000 silvers, no bargaining, no raising price. Okay. This price was within Yi Chen's price range, so it was worth it. On the other side, Yi Hai also chose a stone statue and a broken bronze bell, which added up to 15,000 silvers. With this calculation, the annual profit of the Nine Cauldron Pavilion was an astronomical figure. After all, some of the ancient weapons were only worth a few dozen silvers. When the two walked out of the Nine Cauldron Pavilion, it was already noon. Yi Chen, let's go eat at the Sun restaurant. It's my treat. Yi Hai had a storage ring, which was given to him by his master, the Broken Mountain guest. He put the stone statue and the broken bronze bell in it. The Sun restaurant was the biggest restaurant in Luo City. Yi Chen had not been there for a long time, so he nodded immediately. After 15 minutes, the two arrived at the Sun restaurant. Under the guidance of the waiter, they went to the second floor. Masters, would you like a private room, or would you like to eat in the lobby? The waiter asked. Yi Chen said, let's eat in the lobby. Okay, there is a table by the window, this way please. The waiter first gestured with his hand, then quickly picked up the towel on his shoulder and wiped the table. Sitting down, Yi Hai looked at the street outside and said, looks like Luo City is more familiar. You don't know, but my master and I travel almost every day. Today, we might be in this city, and the next day, we might be in some unknown town thousands of miles away. Sometimes, if we are unlucky, there will be no one in a radius of 10,000 miles, so we can only sleep in the wilderness. Yi Chen asked, have you encountered any danger? Of course, my master and I were once chased by a level 6 top-tier demonic beast in the Black Dragon Empire's Great Desolate Mountain. We were also besieged by the famous underworld experts of the Rudra nation. Luckily, we were lucky enough to escape without any mishaps. Recalling the past, Yi Hai still had lingering fears. Yi Chen admired Yi Hai. He was obviously a playboy. Of course, his master, Broken Mountain guest, was also a playboy. It was no wonder that the two of them had become master and disciple. When the dishes were served, the two of them ordered a pot of wine and ate with relish. Thud thud thud, while they were eating, the sound of messy footsteps came from the staircase. There were many people. Brother Kui, the Sun restaurant is the biggest restaurant in Luo City. Many famous warriors have dined here before. You will not be disappointed. A crisp female voice was heard. It was Yi Xian. Since junior sister Yi praises Sunrise Restaurant so highly, there must be something extraordinary about it. Junior brothers, please have a good taste later. Of course, it's rare for me to come to junior sister Yi's territory, so I have to make some memories. Sister Yi, although Luo City is good, it is not a good place to stay for long. The Emerald Martial Palace will be your home in the future. Someone tried to persuade her. The footsteps were getting louder and louder as they arrived at the second floor. Yi Xian was about to say something when she saw Yi Chen and Yi Hai sitting by the window. She snorted and frowned. Junior sister Yi, who are these two? The teenager with small eyes noticed the change in Yi Xian's gaze. He turned his head and saw Yi Chen and Yi Hai's silhouettes on the second floor. Yi Xian said lightly, "They are disciples of the Yi family." "Disciples of the Yi family? I wonder which sect they are from?" another teenager asked. "One of them is in the Sky Cloud Martial School, the other one is traveling with the Broken Mountain Traveler." Yi Xian answered honestly. The Sky Cloud Martial School is a big martial institution in the Windy Nation. Unfortunately, it is not comparable to our Emerald Martial Palace. They are 2 ranks apart. As for who is the Broken Mountain Traveler, I have never heard of him. Could he be a scammer? The teenagers joked with each other. Yi Hai had already noticed their arrival. He didn't want to talk to them, but he didn't expect them to directly insult his master, the Broken Mountain Traveler. He was annoyed. He put down his chopsticks, turned around, and said, "Who are you? Do you know that it is rude to insult someone's master?" The teenager with small eyes sneered, "I am just reminding you, don't fall for some scammer's tricks. Otherwise, it is not worth it if you lose your life." If it was a normal day, they would definitely give Yi Xian some face. But when they heard that Yi Xian had lost to a guy named Yi Chen, they felt very uncomfortable. Although Yi Xian didn't say it clearly, but once they heard that he was from the Sky Cloud Martial School, they immediately understood. Therefore, they mocked him without holding back, showing off the power of the Emerald Martial Palace. Yi Hai's face darkened. "Take back what you said, and I will not hold you accountable." What a joke. Words can never be taken back. What do you want to do?" The teenager with small eyes looked at Yi Hai provocatively. Yi Xian looked troubled. These people were all disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace. They were at the same cultivation level as her. The one with the highest cultivation level was Brother Kui Shiming, who had been quiet the whole time. He was already a mid-condensing reality realm warrior, and was considered one of the top inner disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace. Although Kui Shiming didn't say it out loud, Yi Xian could clearly feel that he was interested in her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come all the way from the Emerald Martial Palace just to see her. On one side were disciples of the Yi family, and on the other side were disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace. Yi Xian didn't want any conflict between them. She didn't want to see the Yi family or the Emerald Martial Palace being humiliated. "Lu Jiao, forget it." Yi Xian finally stopped him. The teenager with small eyes named Lu Jiao glanced at Yi Hai, nodded and said, "I will give Sister Yi some face. Otherwise, you will be the one suffering. You have to try." Mountain Fist Art. Yi Hai roared, all of his Zhen Qi was activated, and he threw a punch towards Lu Jiao. "You are looking for death." A cold light flashed through Lu Jiao's eyes. He took a step forward and blocked Yi Hai's way, then threw out a palm attack. Boom! A few tables nearby were flipped over by the strong wind, and the diners all ran away. Yi Hai backed out 3 steps, and yelled, again. Another punch was thrown out, and it was even more powerful than the first one. Broken jade palm. Lu Jiao's face looked a bit bad after failing to beat Yi Hai with 1 palm attack. He immediately performed the top martial art of the Emerald Martial Palace, and a light jade crack appeared on his palm. The fist and the palm clashed, and the sound of jade breaking exploded. Yi Hai was slightly weaker than his opponent in terms of cultivation, so he couldn't stop the power and was forced to back out. He knocked over 3 or 4 tables in a row, but still didn't stop. Seeing that Yi Hai was about to fall out of the window, Yi Chen made his move. His palm lightly patted on Yi Hai's back, and the Zhen Qi from the pure Yuan art destroyed Lu Jiao's Zhen Qi, which saved Yi Hai from making a fool out of himself. "You are that Yi Chen, eat my palm attack." Lu Jiao didn't have the chance to teach Yi Chen a lesson. Seeing that Yi Chen had made his move, Lu Jiao didn't care anymore. He took a big step forward, and threw out a broken jade palm attack. "Piss off." Yi Chen didn't move his body, he threw out a punch, and then took it back immediately. Pooh. As if he was hit by a couple of horses, Lu Jiao was shocked. His body flew back at an even faster speed, and he puked out a huge mouthful of blood. Right then, Kui Shiming, who was called Brother Kui by Yi Xian, caught Lu Jiao and said lightly, "Brother Lu, in the future, either you don't fight, or when you fight, you have to make our Emerald Martial Palace famous, remember that." Then, his tone changed, and he said to Yi Chen, You have hurt our Emerald Marshal Palace's disciple. Do you know what you have done? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.